Hi, I'm Case Lowe, co-host of the Open the Voice Gate podcast. The one question I'm constantly asked when it comes to Dragon Gate is, how do I get into the promotion? Well, stop asking and start listening to the Open the Voice Gate podcast, released every Wednesday on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. For exclusive news and show reviews, look no further than the leader in Dragon Gate coverage, Open the Voice Gate.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
TNA is the best wrestling in the whole world, and that's a shoot.
The quantity of speech is not always indicative of the quality of thought. Well, listen here, you two fat roly-polies. If I looked as bad as you guys did, I would have stayed in the backyard!
Think this is funny? No. Why would you do this? Told to. Get a life! Get a life!
Vince Russo.
Oh, come on. I hate him now. He's a waste of time.
This is BS! This sucks! I've lost my objectivity, and I don't give a damn!
Welcome, everybody, to You've Got to Be Kidding Me, episode number 48. We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. On this episode, we were talking about the month that is May 2006, leading up to Sacrifice 2006. I am Garrett Kinney, and I am joined, as always, by my lovely friend Liam Jones.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. Garrett, name 100 Pokemon.
Charmeleon, Wartortle,
Yeah.
Mewtwo, Tentacle,
Yeah.
Aerodactyl, Almanite, Slowpoke, Pidgeot, Arbok. That's all, folks. Gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em
Yeah.
all. Gotta catch 'em all,
Yeah.
gotta catch 'em all. Gotta catch 'em
fallen
all,
into my trap.
Pokemon.
You name 100 Pokemon quicker than you name 100 women. You dare do that.
For the longest time, I was like, I'm gonna learn the Poke Rap. And as illustrated, I do know the final verse of the Poke Rap.
Do you not know any of the other verses?
Electro, Diglett, Nidoran, Mankey, Venusaur, Rattata, Fearow, Pidgey. They go in a line.
There you go.
I learned like the first. I don't really remember the first one actually. I only remember the last one because it comes in real strong on Charmeleon. But I also don't remember. So it was when I was doing podcast a day, which was my short-lived, very wrong-headed experiment to try and do a daily podcast for 365 days, and I stopped at 200.
Why would you stop so close?
200 is nowhere near.
You're over halfway, though.
It's still 165 more.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would have kept going.
I'm going to read to you some of the topics I covered on podcast.
I remember
today.
one was just rain.
Yeah, it was 5 minutes of silence, which is a wonderful art piece. There was the Banana Song. There was Walking Home, which was a series, because that was when I didn't record an episode and I was walking home from work, so I recorded an episode on my phone and just posted it as a podcast. A discussion of avian humanoids. Announcing Project Poker Rap. That was an episode. I gave an episode to announcing it, and at the end of every episode I was going to try and do it, and I never finished it. Liam.
Just like you never finished podcast today.
An episode called Weather, am I right? What else we come up with? Euthanasia Coaster?
Okay.
Birthdays?
Just birthdays.
Yeah, it's just called Birthdays. No idea what it's about. We did have at least 4 walking homes with Gar. Hello in 22 languages. That was when I was literally at like 10 to the top of the hour and I forgot to do an episode. So I looked up hello in 22 languages, recorded myself saying them, and posted again on the internet as a podcast.
This is good content.
We had Walking Home with Gar 5 Go, which I assume was because I was playing Pokemon Go. Walking Home with Gar 6.
No subtitle.
Kentucky Meat Shower. Patriotism. Bloop. There's just an episode called Bloop.
We should put this on the Patreon.
Walking Home with Gar 7. There's Podception, which I think I was doing a podcast with, I think it was Tanner, but I also recorded it on my phone, so it was like a phone recording of me doing a podcast with Tanner. So it was like a podcast within a podcast. Walking Home with Gar 8. An episode just called Update. No idea what that is. An episode called Panda Pornography. I did a bunch of episodes while I went to Bound for Glory that year, so I recorded like 7 episodes in advance and got Ken to post them while I was away. We got up to Walking Home with Garrett 9, and then episode 200 finale.
Bring back Garrett with Walking number 10 for the Patreon.
Yeah, I do a lot of walking lately. I should record myself. We should do sequels to every Podcast a Day episode.
I'm ready for Bleep 2.
There are some unreleased Podcast a Day episodes. Well, I actually switched to Podcast of the Week, so they would be Podcast of the Week episodes now.
That's cowardice.
Yeah, this was the height of me. Was I unemployed when I started? Maybe not. I think I was at the
Oh, you were walking home from work.
Yeah, but that was what the one. Oh yeah, the first Walking Home with Garrett was like 19 episodes in, so I probably was working or less. So it was at the peak of me like being post college depressed, being like I need something to do.
You need a creative outlet.
I'm such a failure in life, so I was like, I am going to do a podcast a day, and I had such notions about what it was going to be. As like, there's going to be interviews on every episode. I'm going to travel to places and talk to people, and it's going to be like an actual podcast.
Bloop.
And I think like the episodes that had guests, I'll stand behind. I think that there's a decent number of episodes that had guests with Rob Reed and Tanner and other such alumnus. James doing Lord of the Rings reviews, so I think that was in Podcast a Week. But then like there's one where I went to Blarney Castle and actually interviewed the dude who ran it. I was like, that's like an actual podcast. That's, you know, I went to a place and did a thing, and that was like my noble intention for all of them. And then they just became Walking Home with Garrett as a series that went up to 9.
Blarney.
What a load of Blarney.
What a load
Oh, were
of
you
Blarney.
doing a Blimey thing, but with Blarney?
Yes.
I see what you're doing there. I understood just like 35 seconds later.
Blarney Stone.
I have not kissed it. You actually have to dangle out over. And I'm not sure, like, obviously I assume cut off kissing it in COVID. I'm not sure if they brought it back post-COVID. They probably have, because it's probably too good of a tourist attraction. But it seems in a post-COVID age, we shouldn't be kissing rocks.
I'm bringing it back.
You want to make out with all the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely place, though, Blarney Castle.
The other ones.
Name 3 other rocks.
Rocky from the movie Rocky.
Real person.
Rocky Romero.
Mm-hmm.
Dino Bravo.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Was it his nickname, The Rock?
I don't know. Do you think I watch a lot of Dino Bravo?
You don't know shit about wrestling.
I don't know shit about wrestling. I just pretend. I know about TNA. That's the reason I bring everything back to TNA, because then it seems like I know what I'm talking about.
Nicknames. He doesn't say it, but I'm going to choose to believe that he was called The Rock.
Everyone loves The Rock, Dino Bravo.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite wrestler.
Mm-hmm. His hit catchphrase, The Rock says.
You should just start going around saying, you know, my favorite wrestler, The Rock, Dino Bravo, and eventually people will just assume that's a thing.
I'm gonna bring it to the zeitgeist. I'm gonna Mandela effect everyone.
This is how you should wield your podcasting clout.
Yes. My
nobly
infinite clout
that you gain from being podcasters, all the money and clout you get from doing TNA wrestling podcasts. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Double or Nothing is in 2 days.
We tend to record right before AEW pay-per-views, don't we?
I don't know why. How do you feel about the Double or Nothing card?
I think it's a pretty good card. I think it should be a good show, and AEW do good pay-per-views.
It's a pretty, stacked show. It is their big show.
They say that, but if you were to say this is their pay-per-view, then I would be like, it's actually not very good. But as a normal AEW pay-per-view, it's a good card.
Yeah. You got the Monet debut. Probably should have just done Tony Mariah.
Really weird, the fact that Tony has been feuding with Saraya as a babyface at the same time she's been feuding with
Serena.
Deeb as a heel, but also nobody likes Deeb as a babyface, so it makes it even worse because Tony is working as a babyface with another person.
I thought Deeb was a heel.
No, Deeb's a babyface.
I thought she was a heel via proxy.
No, she did that whole promo about how my career nearly ended and I came
back.
Yeah,
that's loser shit.
And then the crowd didn't really give a fuck about it because Toni Storm is funny. Well, she's not funny, but she's meant to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
know.
There's some... maybe it'd be cool to see, Roddy have another match of the year.
I thought the flamethrower stuff was cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
There's people who get so, up their own arse about that kind of stuff. It's like, the dude walked out with a flamethrower. Cop yourselves on.
There's a little, I don't know, it's a part of, that's fine. I don't know, that's fine. That's just, crazy wrestling shit. That's like stunt wrestling shit more than it is anything else.
I don't really understand where in the history of wrestling you get the idea that it's like it's really this pure version of wrestling, because I don't think it has ever existed anywhere.
And also, like, I mean, like, there's been percentages, right? Like, you have companies that are 90% that, with, like, 10% of it still chucked in. Like, but I always think, like, AEW's at worst had, like, a 60-40 split the other way. And, like, at best, like, a 60-40 split the other way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think AEW's ever been, like, a super giant majority of pure wrestling promotion.
Like, the first Dynamite main event involved Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega brawling through the crowd and DDTing through a table, and then it became a handicap main event.
And that's just as, like, that's like the same level as a flamethrower.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, stuff that is absurd because if it happened in the real world, it would be criminal.
And you had the whole, like, Jon Moxley's eye being taken out angle. Like, it's wrestling. Like, stop putting it in a box. And I get it, because a lot of times you have bad comedy and bad sports entertainment, and it's bad. But when a dude comes out a flamethrower, like, if your reaction to that is, like, grumpy face, oh, that's not pure wrestling. You're too grumpy for wrestling. And I'm grumpy.
And that's coming from the grumpiest man in wrestling.
If I'm like, you're too grumpy for wrestling, you have a problem.
I don't know. I mean, like, you can get pissy at the blood thing.
I don't even care about that.
No, I'm saying, I'm fine with you getting pissy at that. Like, if like, that's your hill you want to die on, that's fine to me. Like, because that is, like, fully the other, like, that is that 40%, right? But, like, I don't even consider a flamethrower as being, like, a sports entertainment thing.
Because, like, I'm making, like, not even a casual fan argument here. I'm making, like, an average human being argument. If the average human being sees somebody on a show walk out and like flip a flamethrower all over the place, the average human being is gonna be like, "That's fucking awesome. That rocks." Stop being babies.
Also, yeah, I believe Darby would do it.
Yeah, and also, like, it's not like no one has ever been set on fire in the history of wrestling. It's not like it's not that credible. People have been set on fire in the history of wrestling.
Quite a lot, actually.
There's that GCW dude who set himself on fire. Wasn't on purpose, but...
Yeah.
Alright, speaking of fire, that brings us to the month that was May 2006, Sacrifice 2006.
It was
first,
lit, fam.
Wow, you're so young.
I'm hip to it.
But first, if you would like to support the show, if you would like to support us, if you like what we do, and if you would like a lot more content, capital T... T? Yes, content.
Content!
Yeah, really emphasizing the T. You can go to tnachat.com or patreon.com/kiddingme, where you can support the show, support us, and get a lot more for it. You can get our Lucha Underground show that's ongoing. You can get our Raintaker show that's ongoing. You can get our new series we launched, which is Mystery Vortex Theater, the first episode of which we watched Ghost Ship.
Ghost Ship, very good movie. Well, is it a very good movie? Yes, I'm going to stick with very good movie. I think it is kind of like a very good film. No, very good movie. Yes,
absolutely, good distinction. You can get our watch along for Sacrifice 2006, where if you enjoyed us naming women, we did a lot more of naming things as that show went on.
That's our spot now. We name.
You can also get the show notes for this episode, which is 15 pages of notes covering everything that happened in the month of May 2006 leading up to Sacrifice. Also, at the very end, has some nice Abyss fan art from fans. So that's a little treat for you.
I'm going to draw an Abyss fan art.
And add it to the show notes?
Yeah.
Good.
You can guess which one's mine.
The one that's not a screenshot from the Impact Zone?
You don't know. Maybe I'll go to the Impact Zone.
And also, of course, the ad-free episode for this episode. So if you're a little annoyed by the ads, you can get rid of them by going to Patreon and paying us $1 whole. $1 gets you the show notes and the ad-free episode. So tnachat.com, patreon.com/kiddingme. Support the show, support us, support the wonders that is covering TNA wrestling from 2006. No one else does it as good. Other people have tried.
Yeah, eat shit Marky, whatever that guy's name is.
Don't get me fucking started on Marky D. I think I've gone off on Marky D before, but...
Well, like, Marky D's nuts.
Oh, got his ass. The most fucking joyless.
Got his ass.
unfunny person I've ever heard touch wrestling ever. It's just like, stay away from this. Of all the people, give it out about the people being like, stop covering wrestling. You don't like it. You don't find joy in wrestling. He's top of that list.
Does he have Twitter?
I don't want to know.
I feel like I've never seen a Mark D tweet. I don't even know what his name is, so I can't even search it.
And he like covers TNA a bunch, and I'm just like, you're like, he gets mad about Crimson. It's like, what are you getting mad about Crimson?
Listen, I might get mad about Crimson. Who knows?
My favorite thing about this show is like you finding a deep joy in Eric Watts.
Yeah, I'll probably fucking love Crimson, won't I?
Like in the places where most people are like, no, it's bad, it's terrible. It's like, actually, you know what? Eric Watts, mid-card weirdo, kind of fun. That's kind of the thing I love most, rather than like getting. And there's times like I'm going to shout at Dave Meltzer again on this episode. At the end of the news is literally there for me to shout at the Torch and the Observer again. But for the most part, I just like be like, silly little thing. Wrestling's a silly little thing. You should have fun with it for the most part.
You know, I don't know. Wrestling's stupid. I don't like it anymore.
See, when you say wrestling is stupid, I'm like, that's more of a reason to like it.
Yeah. Is wrestling interesting, though?
Yes.
Is it?
Of all the things, as both a medium of entertainment and just an industry behind it, you cannot accuse wrestling of it's not being interesting.
I think I'm bored of it.
Liam's just mad because we had one day without news.
Yeah. It really is that for me. I'm like, if we go a single day without some like shocking breaking news about the state of the pro wrestling business, I go, it's over.
There's never anything happened. There's 2 wrestling pay-per-views this weekend, but we went one day without news, and Liam's like, ugh, why are we doing this?
Yeah, what's the point? You mean 3, because GLEAT is also tomorrow.
Oh, the biggest show.
Yeah, everyone going to be tuning in to see Shima and Kaz Hayashi defend the G-Infinity Tag Team titles against Onitsuka and Yamamura.
Onitsuka has gear, so I'm back in. We
also have we have 2 Marigold shows tomorrow, and a Best of the Super Juniors.
So by tomorrow, you'll be fine.
Yeah. This might also be due to the 9-hour workday. What? Oh, we also got Noah tomorrow.
No way.
You can see some old Rebellion losses.
Those poor souls.
But you can see Oiwa, who was the coolest guy, who I've already put above Yoda Tsuji in my head.
Nice.
And Umura, but Umura's already at the bottom.
Who is?
Yuya Umura.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, guess what? I'm making a big statement. I don't fuck with him.
He's too nice seeming.
I don't fuck with that guy. He needs to show some fire. He's fucking Heatstorm, and he has no goddamn fire.
You just look at him, and his face is too nice.
And he looks like Yujiro now.
He has too much kindness in his face.
Shaved the head. Looks like some Tokyo Pimp shit. I don't know. I'm all in Oiwa. Bring him back. Put him over everyone.
That does bring us to the news.
Does it?
The morale in TNA's locker room plummeted when wrestlers found out that the reason about 10 regulars were not brought into the latest tapings was because the talent budget went to Buff Bagwell, Rick Steiner, and Lex Luger. What really upset the core of the locker room was that these wrestlers kept home were told they were on a tight budget, only to find out the budget was tight because of the money spent on Luger, Bagwell, and Steiner. Our promotion has gone from something new and exciting to looking like a rerun of WCW Thunder circa 1999. It's hideous and embarrassing the steps backwards we took this week, says one frustrated wrestler. Says another, we're just resigned to this ineptitude now. This was the biggest slap in the face to the wrestlers who got TNA to where they are now. Liam, I have a question. This was a 3-week TV month.
Oh, yeah.
Also at the World X Cup involved, so you had a lot of flying. What wrestlers, and don't scroll down because there is a list, what wrestlers were not on TV this month?
I would guess Diamonds in the Rough.
Yep.
That would be my first glaring omission.
Because this is, and like Dave does reinforce this, being like people are mad, especially because the show has been reformatted to be like 2 or 3 matches and then stories and stuff, as opposed to like 5 matches rushing through everything, which is better for the TV show. Mm-hmm. Even if some people get booked a little less often. But I was like, when I read this story, I was like, well, nearly all the X Division guys are booked. Obviously, all the top guys are booked. 3D are still booked. Like, James Ganger is still booked on TV this month.
LAX is gone. Fresh off a push.
Yeah, Ron and Conan with LAX.
But I don't know if he's, like, gone yet.
Yeah, Monty was getting knee surgery, which is the reason he is out. I think he's back on the TVs after Sacrifice.
They were, like, but, like, they're, like, the only ones that I think, like, were, like, pushed.
Yeah, the other ones being, I think, Matt Bentley and Lance Hoyt are probably the other, the quote-unquote, biggest names, or people who...
Yeah, but Matt Bentley's pushed on fucking Explosion.
Yeah, both those guys barely get on TV anyway. So I was reading the story, and I was like, who are the people that are really mad here?
Did they bring Conan in for commentary?
He was in for Lockdown anyway, which I think is part of what annoyed a lot of people, because there are people who were in for the pay-per-view who weren't kept around for TV.
Okay, my take from this is... I don't give a shit. That's my take from this.
Yeah.
First of all, when they said budgets were tight for these tapings, they weren't incorrect. They allocated money to a different area. They were, budget was tight because they wanted to do this angle. It's not like these guys are permanent fixtures in the company. They were doing a story in which they brought guys from outside to, put over the story. Sometimes that's just gonna... If they were coming in, for the next 2 years and taking these guys' spots, I would get it. But, I'm sorry, it's just a pay-per-view cycle that, I'm sorry, Matt Bentley, your fucking Explosion matches, had to get put away for a fucking week because they were doing a storyline with Sting and Jarrett and Steiner.
More importantly, I think, to focus on there, though, the point was that Sting had Bagwell, Sting had Steiner, Sting had Luger, but he ended up with Joe.
Yeah, the whole, they sell the whole thing in the end being he picked the young, cool, new guy who's the tough killer.
Yeah.
So it's I don't think this is anything that's looking like a rerun of WCW Thunder besides the nostalgia pop, but everyone does nostalgia pops.
It's a fun little thing. It's look at Bagwell, look at Steiner, look at
I had
Luger,
a fun time watching these segments.
It's just... I'm so frustrated, and again, I'm going to go off on it more later. I'm so frustrated with the coverage around this company at this moment in time. I really am. It's driving me crazy.
Some 83-week shit.
It is. Oh god, again, don't get me started. We will be talking about all the same fucking talking points we deal with today, with the same hacks delivering the same bullshit over and over again. But, I don't know. Everyone was on TV. Styles was on TV. Saban was on TV. AEW were on TV. All the young guys were on TV.
The only ones that really have a point to be pissy was LAX because they just came off of a push.
And Homicide, by all accounts, is really mad on multiple counts because he has not gotten to wrestle yet, not meaningfully. And he was mad about his portrayal at Lockdown, where he was getting punked out and whipped, and the whole thing is I'm a gangster kind of guy. So the idea that I would get whipped and not try and get some retribution is kind of silly. But there's also a thing where he started where his shoulder was hurt, so he couldn't really go full tilt. But yeah. Also, apparently, he never told anybody his shoulder was fine.
Looking at this list right here, right? Mm-hmm. So, Bentley and Tracy, fuck off.
Yep.
Douglas, fuck off. Strong and Aries are done anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Hoyt, you're not pushed. Monty, you're out on surgery. Key, sure, but you're Key. Some other shit probably fucking was a part of that.
And there's 2 video packages for Loki on TV.
LAX, you're the only ones that are reasonable because you just are a newly formed group. Gus City Riley, come on. Diamonds in the rough. You're lucky to be on the show anyway.
Yeah.
You're on the show too much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's none of these people, they kept everyone essential to the show.
Yeah.
Despite, my fact that, I think LAX should have been on these shows because they're interesting and cool and new, they're not essential to the show.
No.
None of the people who weren't brought in were essential and, felt missed.
If they didn't book Abyss, you'd be well, come on.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not a fan of the James gang, but, I feel they would have more of a fucking thing to say if they would, the ones that got sitting home for the month.
Mm.
Because, at least they are, regulars on the show.
Which is why probably Conan and Ron were probably the most reasonable to be pissed.
Yeah. So it's yeah, exactly. Ron, he has a case. Conan has a case, but he's probably there doing Spanish commentary anyway.
Mm.
So it's I don't know. I don't have a problem with this. They looked at the books, they allocated money for what they wanted to do for this program, and they made cuts where they had to. Whatever.
Yeah, that was kind of my take as well. It's guys, get over yourselves. Stop being it's like WCW all over again.
You can be pissy, but I don't know. If TNA, listen, if TNA are being super stingy and still wanting to control people's bookings, that's one thing. But if they're not, and you're free to do whatever you want those 3, in 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, because the taping's actually only taking place over a couple days, go get some bookings.
There's an interesting note, like when Loki was signed, apparently he didn't want to go into LAX because he saw that as a death roll because of what had happened to Homicide. So it's interesting how even like LAX is seen as a flop here, and it kind of like, listen, it kind of is.
I don't think it's a flop. I just think it's like LAX suffered from being brought in at the end of an existing feud. Like, they were brought in at the point where the baby faces need to go over to tell the story. Like, they were at the natural conclusion of the story. So, like, that's a rough spot to introduce people into. But, like, they're really, like, it's really easy to bounce them back.
And they do.
Historically.
So, yeah, get over yourselves, TNA wrestlers, in 2006.
Yeah. We're on the side of the company.
Yeah, corporations, baby. One of the best talkers in the history of the industry and also one of the most volatile personalities behind the scenes has agreed to work for TNA. Jim Cornette was always on TNA's radar as a potential on-air talent since he is a great talker and gets on well with Jeff Jarrett as the two go back to the territory days in the 1980s. Until a year ago, Cornette was the head writer for OVW, WWE's top developmental territory.
I can't deal with this.
You just can't see Cornette's face.
This is mental anguish.
You can't handle the idea that Cornette's showing up.
I'm not ready for it. Cause like, I love Midnight Express. I think Cornette is an amazing talker, one of the best promos of all time. I will never discredit any of his accomplishments in the pro wrestling business. I still hate the guy with every fiber of my fucking being.
Has he like scorched earth so much so that you can't even tolerate him?
Well, let me tell you this, Garrett. If Vince Russo showed up on TNA Impact tomorrow, I would be more joyful.
Ooh.
Like, again, Cornette in the 80s, when he's doing his thing, one of the coolest, like, managers of that era. I think he's amazing. I will never discredit that shit. I think he's amazing in that role. The last 10 years of his fucking talking makes me want to fucking put a rail spike through my brain. Like, and his influence is so detrimental to discussing pro wrestling in any meaningful way that it's just become hazardous, and the idea of having to interact and talk about Jim Cornette on a weekly basis on this podcast is enough to drive me fucking insane.
He is largely pretty good. Well, as he's going to be an authority figure. He's just going to fill the Larry Zero, which might be the
and he'll probably be good in the role. I'm saying the idea of talking about him is infuriating.
Poor Larry Z as well, as they're going to say. It's just because Larry Z's kind of been awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll try to separate art from artist and all that jazz. But every time there's like a backstage... Like, I'll take the Russo shit. Russo is annoying and dumb and doesn't know what he's talking about half the time. But at least he's bad in a way that it's fun to talk about. And this guy is just like cyanide to the brain.
And also, like, the number of Russo disciples is pretty small these days.
And you can kind of laugh at the Russo disciples, you know?
Whereas the Cornette people are loud, they're annoying, they're very easy to spot from a very large distance.
Yeah.
You're gonna sabotage our SEO for a Cornette. This is gonna be the first video that all the Cornette fans are gonna click on YouTube, being like, Jim Cornette, I love that guy. I listen to his podcast.
Yeah, I know. Listen, guys, I'm sorry that you had to find out this way. I tried to warn you early on. I know that most of you watch his stuff because you're in our goddamn YouTube algorithm. I'm not gonna be pleasant about the guy, as is my God-given right as an American. All right, my free speech. I get to talk shit about whoever I want with no repercussion. Alright? So you can't be mad at me, lest you be mad at yourselves.
Or get to inform you, Australia doesn't actually have free speech.
That being said, I'll put over his work if the work's good.
So he had been booking AEW.
Oh, fucking shit.
He'd want to.
Give him a collision, see what happens.
Honestly, it would probably be pretty bad, because Cornette has never really had a track record as a successful booker.
And also, like, listen, I started watching ROH in the Cornette era. I know how not amazing it can be.
So he was booking OVW, not AEW. He had remained a part of OVW in helping owner Danny Davis promote his local events even after he was removed as head writer, a role eventually filled by Paul Heyman. Despite the relaunch of ECW, which is expected to take Heyman away from his OVW TV writing duties once ECW begins a full-time schedule in the summer, Cornette is not considered a candidate to return to his post. For one, he considers himself still burned out after booking so many years dating back to his days running Smoky Mountain Wrestling and being a member of the WCW booking committee and the WWF writing team at times before that. Also, he and John Laurinaitis do not get along.
Maybe Cornette's based, actually. He didn't like the alleged rapist.
See, like, that's what Cornette made his name on. Particularly, like, he went off on Russo all the time.
Yeah, like, when he was, like, he, like, directed all of his performative vitriol towards people that are disliked, it was, like, fine. And people were like, yeah, get him, Jim. But then it's like, he just directed it at everyone.
Yeah, it all just kind of was directed at Rio, like the most likable wrestler on earth. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Cornette, though, didn't want to work for TNA until the OVW tape library was sold to WWE and he received whatever share he had coming. That library purchase was completed last week. Subscribers to the OVW tape service were notified last week that they would no longer be distributed because WWE owns the rights, and thus refunds were offered for all pre-sold
Do you think
tapes.
more people were watching the OVW tape service than they were buying shows on Fight?
Yes. I would actually say firmly yes.
Yeah, because it was like 150 in that documentary or whatever.
Because this is back in the day when, like, at least OVW had the WWE developmental territory thing going for it. So
Yeah.
it would have had some interesting names coming through as opposed to now.
Didn't, like, OVW became, like, a TNA developmental for a while?
In name, yes.
Like, they sent some people there, I guess.
Yeah, and, like, when they did the gut check thing, when, like, Alex Silva was signed, he was sent to OVW, but nothing ever really happened with it, so, I don't know.
There was a young Sam Shaw there for a while.
Yeah, and, like, the Blossom twins would have worked some OVW, but there was never actually any... No one ever came back, really. That was the problem. Everyone went there and no one came back.
They never produced a Bozilla, so, you know.
Yeah, that's the real star. If OVW, modern OVW had produced a Bozilla, Alan Snow could rightfully call it, like, the third biggest wrestling company in America, or whatever the fuck he said.
Bozilla versus Haley J.
That would probably be a good OVW feud, to be fair. Or at least they'd be able to pretend it wasn't a documentary. So after selling the tapes, he had nothing to lose by working for WWE's competition. He had recently been working a few shows for Ring of Honor and acting as commissioner for the promotion. He will remain in that position, despite also having an on-air role with TNA in the upcoming months.
Again, I'll say something nice. I liked his, like, 2006, like, CZW ROH, like, on-screen character stuff. Like, part of the, I think, like, the ROH CZW Cage of Death. Dropped everything.
Alright, buddy.
No, I think the ROH versus CZW Cage of Death is, like, one of the best matches ever. Like, a full 5. And part of that is, like, his role in it and the post-match with him and Homicide. Like, I love that match, and he is a major part of that match. So I don't hate him as a performer. I just think he's an intensely unlikable individual.
You don't want to see his face or hear his voice.
Exactly, that's the thing. Like, if he was gone, I would wax poetically about a Jim Cornette.
Gone as in dead?
I didn't say that.
In a statement released on Ring of Honor's website, where Cornette is the on-air authority figure for ROH, Cornette said, "I have verbally agreed to a limited number of dates with TNA. This will not interfere with my Ring of Honor commitments. I am committed to Ring of Honor dates throughout the year and beyond." There is some question about when Cornette can begin working for TNA. They do, of course, state this month that the new face of TNA management will show up at Slammiversary, which is where Cornette debuts as the new face of TNA management. Spoiler.
Aww. Why would you spoil that for me?
Since he is scheduled to have surgery soon and won't be able to travel for up to 8 weeks. Cornette isn't expected to be a candidate to be part of the booking committee. He's not good with compromise or humoring co-bookers. He finds to be on a different page or incompetent. Also, Cornette has an aversion to flying and isn't willing to relocate to Orlando, Florida, where TNA tapes television once or twice a month. He drives himself up and down for the time that they're working Orlando because he does not like planes. So, yeah, Cornette's coming in. I assume you were so excited.
I mean, I'm sure he'll be a great on-screen presence.
I'll miss Larry.
I will too. Everyone go back and watch Larry Z versus AJ.
The both of them.
Yeah.
There was 2 matches. He invented the TNA kick. What a wrestler.
Someone told me that he didn't actually, but I choose to ignore that.
Yeah, someone is like, oh, no, somebody did it earlier. It's like, but did they do it?
Ooh.
Is it a TNA?
Apollo did one in the third.
No, we can't let it be credited to Apollo. There is no world where we can allow the
I don't
TNA
think it actually was Apollo.
to be given to Apollo. It has to be given to Lazy.
Very deserved. Give him some. He had to deal with Dusty Rhodes being mean to him that whole time.
Yeah.
Calling him a fake legend, which is like so base. I love you, Dusty. To just insult your colleague all the time.
TNA CEO Kevin Day resigned as CEO of the company in April when he turned in his 1 month's notice.
More like Kevin Knight, because he's leaving.
Good.
Thanks.
His last day at the company is Friday, May 13th. Friday the 13th. What does he know? One source close to the TNA office tells PW Torch Kevin Day quit because he got a better job. With no wrestling experience, Kevin Day was positioned as TNA CEO after being plucked from the Panda Energy office in Dallas. He began his tenure in February with the mandate to clean up the finances in TNA. However, Day became frustrated by the political nature of the TNA office, including Jeff Jarrett.
I'm shocked.
There's a note also this month that Dixie either gives birth or is imminently about to give birth to her second child. So it's like Jarrett is getting more power in her absence. So everyone's like, oh, I can't work with this guy. Day comes from the corporate business environment with a strict focus on the financial bottom line. He found the TNA atmosphere frustrating and realized it wasn't where he wanted to spend key years of his corporate life. He is 37 years old. Day replaced former CEO Frank Dickerson, who was let go by TNA co-owner Bob Carter in 2005. Dickerson was very well liked among wrestlers and staff, almost as a father or grandfather figure.
Bring back Dickerson.
Day was seen as a corporate climber who was a company
Let's
man
get Dickerson in.
and all about business, but sharp and a quick learner. It's no surprise he didn't last, says one source. This isn't an atmosphere that welcomes strong personalities from the outside.
Yeah. Only strong personalities from the inside.
It's kind of true, though, isn't it?
Yeah. The wrestlers don't want to be told what wrestling is by people who aren't wrestling.
And it's a very insular, like almost like secret society kind of thing. It's if you're not in, you're not in, and you're a mark.
Yeah.
TNA will be debuting an internet show called Global Impact on its website on May 3rd. Jeremy Borash and Christy Hemme will co-host the show, which will be a 30-minute show devoted to exclusive footage, interview, news, updates, and matches.
Okay.
The Global Impact name doesn't last very long. It does eventually shift over to the name of the TNA and New Japan shows that would air on Spike TV. That's kind of a precursor to what TNA Today would become. Were you a TNA Today guy?
No. I was a spin cycle guy.
That was my favorite thing about like 2007 TNA, because it would be like every day there'd just be like a 7-minute video that might have a nice interview. They might reveal some news. It would include Don West pitching merchandise in the most insane, wonderful ways you'd ever seen.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's literally just JB standing at a desk. He'd have a guest or he wouldn't. They'd talk for a while. Don West would sell some merchandise and they'd get out.
I just want to watch Spin Cycle.
You can. It's on YouTube.
Can we watch Spin Cycle as part of the show?
Well, when a spin cycle starts, we'll include the spin cycles.
Yeah.
My favorite spin cycle is the 2008 presidential debate.
Yeah.
In which I think it's Mick Foley and Booker T on the side of Obama.
And AJ Styles and BG James.
On the side of who the fuck ran against
Romney?
McCain.
McCain.
And then, like, shortly after the election, there's an in-ring segment where Mick Foley's with AJ, and AJ's a babyface. Not that, like, supporting Republicans would inherently make you heel, but yeah.
It does.
Mick Foley is like, I'm sorry, AJ, I know the election didn't go your way and Obama got elected. So he says that to him in a promo on the TV show.
Spin Cycle, bitch.
Yeah, so we will definitely watch the presidential debate.
I love Spin Cycle. Bring it back.
I've tried.
Who would you have in the JB role for Spin Cycle 2024?
Oh, Gia Miller.
Do you think she has the chops? Do you think she can handle it?
Gia would be awesome doing a spin cycle.
Who do you think would like really excel on the Spin Cycle?
On the current TNA roster?
My first, I think Rosemary would kill it.
Yeah, Rosemary would be a great spin cycle guest. Kushida.
Kushida would be a good Spin Cycle guest. PCO.
Yeah, sensational bits.
In full gimmick.
That's your spin cycle panel.
I think Brian Myers would.
Yeah, Myers would be great. Myers would be great.
I think Myers would get it.
Yeah, he would understand the assignment, as the kids say.
Yeah.
But we'll never find out.
Gresham doing Spin Cycle, but he's just sitting there in silence the whole time, and all the other guests start coughing up black.
Yeah, you can incorporate spin cycle into storytelling.
Well, because Gresham would play the Loki role and the make Loki laugh Spin Cycle.
Yes.
Just make Gresham laugh.
Jeff Jarrett arranged a conference call before the last pay-per-view for everyone in the 8-man Lethal Lockdown match to go over the match ahead of time. Killings, Harris, Styles, and Rhino all no-showed the call. Killings, Harris, and Styles were fined $200. Dave doesn't know about Rhino specifically, but anyway, none were happy. Harris was very negative, and Styles called the office upset, wanting to talk to Jarrett, and wasn't put through and told not to call Jarrett.
That's awesome.
Like, fuck you and your call going through the match. We're wrestlers.
So basically, like, Jarrett's side showed up and Sting.
Yeah.
I wonder what Sting, Jarrett, Steiner, and James Storm talked about.
Storm does seem like the odd man out there, doesn't he?
I do think Storm was just like, I'm getting like a masterclass here on carnies.
Or professionalism, because they showed up. During a Q&A session at the NWA Central Stage Show in Kansas, AJ Styles said that many wrestlers tried to avoid using the cage walls during the Lockdown pay-per-view, because the cage was assembled inside out. The rough side of the fence was turned inward, which caused many scratches. AJ said the top of the cage was coming loose as he prepared for the spot where he dropped out of the rafters onto James Storm, but they landed in a safe spot on the cage top.
What if they fell?
They could have died.
Oh, well, I don't want that, but it would have been cool.
They also might have fallen on somebody.
Yeah, Steiner just catches them both.
He probably could. He's awesome.
Holla if you damn hear me.
Elix Skipper told Wrestling Epicenter Radio that Chase Stevens was somewhat upset with the wrestlers involved in the X Division Escape match at Lockdown for not catching him on the shooting star. He was not, however, injured.
You know what? Fair.
Yeah, I think it's pretty understandable because they didn't catch him.
I think somewhat upset is the perfect descriptor to be for that.
Yeah.
Like don't make it your personality. But to be like miffed? Sure.
You are allowed to be a little pissy.
Yeah.
Not a lot pissy, but a little pissy.
Not Kid Cash. But like Hot Stuff Hernandez for not being booked on TV pissed? Yeah.
Raven, who recently returned to TNA to pick up his feud with Larry Zbyszko, was the guest for TNA's monthly conference call with the media on May 9th. He said he took 10 weeks off from the wrestling business to lie in bed watching TV to recover from his various health problems. Raven said, I really abused myself for a long, long time. Raven also said he was the #1 draft choice in the wrestling death pool for a while before he cleaned himself up.
Insane that exists.
He said he feels re-energized and in love with his mistress, the wrestling business again. He's committed to TNA and he's not interested in being part of WWE's revitalization of ECW.
I want Raven in 2006 WWE ECW.
Working with the zombie.
I want Raven to get the Sabu 1 John Cena match on Raw.
Raven and Cena, would it be good? I'm not sure.
Well, because Cena's an old-time plunder guy that gets underrated for it. So give me John Cena versus Raven and Plunder.
They probably would have a pretty good match, especially if it was an 8-minute TV match.
Yeah.
Jay Hassman, whose background includes working for WWE, TNA, UFC...
The House
WCW.
Organ?
No, different person.
Ah.
Though it would be very funny if the man who defrauded TNA went on to be CM Punk's personal mouthpiece. Is Houseman still around?
Yeah, the House of Wrestling still... I'm gonna go to the House of Wrestling right now. I'm gonna see what latest scoop they have.
Yeah, what's the latest big story that the House of Wrestling has?
Exclusives.
Oh,
February 14th. Another TNA office shakeup following Scott D'Amore exit. Exclusive.
They haven't had a scoop in 3 months.
Apparently not. Well, Punk's not an AEW anymore, so he's not pissy.
And he's off injured, even though he's on TV every week.
Yeah, so no Houseman exclusive since February 14th. I'm gonna look at his merch.
Why do they have merch?
It's the logo. It's the logo plus House of Wrestling.
Ooh.
And there's In Your House, an In Your House logo parody, which is actually that's kind of fire. I can't lie.
We were talking about Hassman here rather than Houseman, who, if you remember from 2002,
the
defrauded. If you remember from 2000, stop it. Don't you Billy Gunn this man's name. Remember when that was an Edge and Christian insult? It's I'm not going to Billy Gunn my King of the Ring.
Yeah, wasn't that oh, that was him. I thought it was The Rock.
That was because when Edge won it the year later, he's I'm not going to Billy Gunn this.
How mean to young Billiam.
They were right. But if you remember, Jay Hassman was the person who defrauded TNA about pay-per-view numbers in 2002.
I'm familiar.
Yes. So he was arrested on April 29th on counts
fraud?
related to embezzlement, grand larceny, and forgery related to his job at Team Services. He has a June 2nd court date hearing in a case pending in Nassau County. Hassman is charged in relation to his previous job with Team Services, which works major companies in promoting pay-per-view events. He was the vice president of pay-per-view and marketing with WCW during both its good periods and its fall. Later, he attempted to put together a group to buy both ECW as well as WCW, and the promotions were collapsing. Even though ECW was financially in horrible shape, Paul Heyman turned down the Hassman offer, not believing they had the financial backing claimed. He was probably right.
Well, Paul Heyman knows about defrauding people with how much money he has.
He was heavily involved in the startup of TNA as a business partner and employee at first. There was a quick falling out when TNA officials accused Hassman of lying about pay-per-view numbers, telling them numbers were exaggerated well past any reasonable estimate, and gave them the impression they were doing 80,000 buys the first few weeks, when in reality they were doing 25,000, 15,000, and 10,000.
You couldn't even knock it up to 30,000 guys.
No, a big week, guys. We did 35. He's like, no, 80. We did 80. TNA, through Jerry Jarrett, sued Hassman over that and other charges, while Hassman sued TNA back, claiming they misrepresented to him the amount of financial backing they had to start the venture, as he would have never been involved unless they had at least $5 million in funding. Both sides dropped their suits against each other simultaneously.
So they were both right.
Or both wrong.
They were both right about being in the wrong.
Which seems to be the story of TNA.
Yeah.
Shane Douglas did an interview this past week upon returning after his stay in rehab for an Oxycontin addiction. Douglas said he started using them under prescription with 2 pills a day, but built up to where he was taking 50 a day, including gobbling 15 pills at a time. Douglas said in December, when his second son was born, he realized he better clean up, saying he'd have hated if he grew up with the stigma their father died of a drug overdose. TNA officials told him when he asked for time off that he'd have his job waiting for him when he came back. Though not as a backstage interviewer anymore, JB has firmly taken that from him.
Yeah.
Douglas said going through withdrawal was absolute hell. He was vomiting every 5 to 10 minutes for weeks, constant diarrhea, dehydration. I call it like the worst flu you've ever had multiplied by 50. He said just moving from the couch to the bathroom was a major chore.
Sounds awful.
Don't take drugs, kids!
Well, if you do, just make sure they...
Yes, be responsible, kids.
Take the cool drugs.
Take no drugs. I've never taken drugs. I'm the most boring man on earth.
I've never taken drugs either.
Of course. Bill Goldberg posted on his website that he's been talking with TNA, which is actually several-month-old news. Goldberg did get a first actual money offer from TNA this month, but turned it down. Right now, with his son just born, it would have been very difficult for him to do anything. Even later, it will take a ton of money, and those who are pretty much aware of what is going on are doubtful TNA's offer will come close to what he'd be willing to work for, and the deal is unlikely to happen. Goldberg is financially set for life and gets tons of offers for wrestling and even some for MMA, not to mention public appearances, but still sees it as his market value is the same as it was in 1998. Goldberg's wife Wanda gave birth to the couple's first child prematurely on May 10th, a 5-pound, 8-ounce boy named Gage, AJ Goldberg. The son was due on June 10th, but he is doing fine.
Is that Goldberg's large son?
That's Goldberg's large son!
Nice.
The man seen on WWE television.
Man. The child.
There's that thing where like people posted photos of him from when he was on WWE TV like 10 years ago, and it's like normal looking child, and now he's like jacked football player. It's like, that's Bill Goldberg's son.
Can't wait till he dominates NXT 2.0.
So ratings. Impact does like a 0.8 to 1.0 every week. It's usually a 0.9.
Fine numbers.
Every week, PW Torch breathlessly report the 0.9 that they did, and are like, it's not going up, it's not going down, it's staying the same. They're not keeping UFC's lead in. How dare they not keep UFC's lead in, because they had not understood at this point that the crossover between wrestling and MMA is actually quite small. It seems intuitive that it should be larger, but like time has shown us it's actually not that big. Like, you're not going to turn MMA fans into wrestling fans, and you're not going to turn wrestling fans into MMA fans. There is crossover, but usually the people that like one don't just go to the other by default.
No, the people that like one normally just like have a casual relationship with the other, if anything. Or you're just someone who is like into both.
It is funny to see like Endeavor are now trying to do it again with the UFC and WWE,
because they own both. They can't. It's very advantageous for them to try.
But will they be the ones to finally crack the code? I don't think so, because as I said, I don't think the crossover is that big.
See, I think they might, just because WWE is so far from wrestling now. Like, WWE is post-wrestling. It is like its own like weird hyper-specific entity that I could see people being like, oh yeah, I'm here for the UFC, but I'll buy a fucking ticket to whatever shows on the Sunday. You know what I mean? Like, it's so Disney of it all that I could just see people being like, I'll go to the show. So I think they have a stronger chance than ever of actual crossover because it's post wrestling. That's the only way I can describe it as. It's not wrestling. It's its own weird entity.
Yeah, it's John Pollock.
Yeah, it's post wrestling. It's John Pollock.
So like, I don't know. I read these and I didn't include any of the details because it's just annoying me. I just read them and they're like, oh, you know, they did the sky is falling. They did a 0.8 this week. They do a 1.0 the next week. It's fine. And like there's a story in the Observer regarding the TNA ratings. The indication internally at TNA is that Spike is happy with the numbers, which is all that fucking matters. Why are these people going crazy?
How is this like still the same talking point 20 years later?
Spike was projecting selling ads at a 0.8 rating, and the lowest they've gotten so far is 0.84. So everything above that's gravy for Spike. They said when we sold this to advertisers, 0.8, every week has done better than that. So it has exceeded expectations in the time slot for what Spike has sold it as. And like the numbers internally are hugely disappointing. Dave like literally calls it a failure this month. He uses the word failure. It's like TNA's failure to get an audience on Spike. It's like, what are you talking about? And like part of it is like he's making a direct comparison to the UFC, which is like, it makes sense to do here in 2005 because they're both on Spike. They're neither are particularly large entities, but the idea that like you're comparing TNA to what, like, we know what UFC becomes and we know what TNA becomes, and the gap between those things is fucking humongous. So the idea that like they are actually, you know, comparing those two, it's like TNA aren't doing UFC numbers. It's a disaster. And I'm just like, ugh. Liam is currently underlining all of the talking points you see over and over and over again. Because Dave is like, there is no way to positively spin the downward trending quarter hours, which is the way every quarter hour is now in wrestling, by the way.
My favorite thing is the four things I've underlined, which are Spike is happy, then the numbers are hugely disappointing, followed by there is no way to positively spin the downward trending quarter hours, followed by there are more eyeballs seeing the product than ever before.
Like, Dave wrote this paragraph. Because as he said, TNA is well ahead of where it was, but there wasn't the defining moment in turning the company's fortunes around. The Saturday replays are well ahead of the former Monday replays, and the Thursday shows are even ahead of Saturday. So as he said, there are more eyeballs seeing TNA than ever in TNA's existence, but this is a disaster. It's a failure. The company needs to change, and I'm losing my mind. It's driving me crazy reading this, Liam. It's literally driving me crazy to see this is what we've done to AEW, and I've probably been guilty of it too. Like the same old bullshit talking points. None of it matters. And I get we need to fill column inches or whatever. Dave has the right shit in the Observer, and Wade has the right shit in the Torch.
Fucking anytime you read one of those fucking things and you're like, 40% of this is boring ratings talk that doesn't matter and no one gives a shit about.
Yeah, like there is endless paragraphs about this in both the Torch and the Observer are hitting this over and over and over and over again.
How are they not sick about writing of this? It's been longer than that because they were doing it during the fucking 90s too.
It's really frustrating. It is the most frustrating thing about this podcast for me so far is this. Like, reading this stuff and seeing, like, it's just the same shit we do now. And, like, the AEW, for all their faults, I think we probably talked them into a depression.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, listen, part of the reason AEW, like, has the perception it has now is just because the way people have talked about it.
And, like, part of, like, they had their real creative low last year.
Yeah. Which was, like, you know, broadly agreed upon by haters and fans alike. Actually, the haters started pretending they liked it, which was the funniest bit.
I think part of the reason we saw that was, like, this shit. Like, we talked them into them feeling like they had to change. And then they did change, and we were like...
And everyone's like, no, this sucks.
And instead of just being like, like, they're doing fine. It's okay to be a really healthy number 2. That's really okay.
That's the problem, is because, like, there's a perception. Like, well, it's the WCW, WWF of it all. Like, the idea that you have to be number 1 to be successful.
We can't get away from it. We really haven't escaped the Monday Night Wars in any capacity. In the way we talk about wrestling, in the way, like, everything we think about, we compare it to WCW still. Everything is WCW. Everything good is WCW. Everything bad is WCW. Like, we have not escaped this. It's honestly the same stuff we saw with the Luger, Bagwell, and Buff stuff earlier. It's like, everyone's like, this is WCW. We haven't gotten away from that. As an industry, we just haven't broken out of those thinking patterns.
Despite the fact that, like, there is a large percentage of pro wrestling fans that weren't alive.
Like, most people who watch WWE TV now haven't watched a wrestling show earlier than, even conservatively, 2013.
Yeah.
Most of them are probably a little bit later.
Yeah.
Like the majority of wrestling fans now are Shield era fans. That's the era we're in. If you want to actually define this era of WWE, it's the Shield era. Those are who the fans are. Like, they're Roman guys, they're Seth guys, and they used to be Dean guys. But
and then they burnt the jersey.
Until he comes back and he'll be great again, because they're dopes. But, like, that is where we are. Most of these people, like, for them, TNA is not relevant. Like, TNA had a year on Spike, before a year or 2 on Spike, before these fans, like, fell onto Pop and Destination America and Access and Pursuit, and fell out of view. Like, that's where we are now, where, like, TNA is, like, this abstract thought. Like, the idea of this era of TNA is nearly 20 years ago. So, like, these people don't even know this stuff. Never mind WCW, and we're still stuck in Heyman and Bischoff and Vince and the Monday Night Wars and WCW and ECW and WWE, because we have not evolved as an industry in both how we talk about it and how we compare things and what we're striving toward. It's just really annoying reading all of this, and I don't include any of it in the show notes because it annoys me too much.
Well, we got it all out of our system now.
Until I read it again next month.
Yes, when TNA is dying again.
And then Russo comes back, and then it's all over. And then, as I said, they did that. They didn't want Russo. Russo wouldn't have been the guy they picked. That's your bad. She chose Russo.
And I think it's the right decision. And I will be proven correct. To be fair, this Russo return isn't the one that fucks him forever.
Yes, there is another one that is worse. Fucking dumb company.
That's the one that, like, kills it.
So that is the news.
That is the news.
That brings us to broad topics, starting with the NWA World Title Program and in the main event of Sacrifice 2006. Coming off the main event of Lockdown, if you remember, we recap at the start of the first impact of the pay-per-view cycle, April 27th. All the events of Lockdown were Christian retained the title against Abyss, but Abyss jumped him. Well, actually, technically, Christian jumped Abyss after the match, but Abyss got the better of him. And as Christian was trying to get revenge on Mitchell, Abyss stole the NWA World title. So this month, Abyss is in possession of the NWA World title.
I'd argue that James Mitchell is in possession most of the time.
Would you rather see in Full Metal Mayhem Abyss versus Christian or Mitchell versus Christian?
I don't think you want me to answer that question.
Get Abyss out of here.
Get the sinister minister in there.
Abyss, more like No-Biss.
Abyss, more like B-Biss.
Which was going to be the original name of Joseph Park. I think I've said that before.
Is that true?
Yeah, the original name of Joseph Park was going to be Beebus, as in going from A to B.
B-Bus? Like B-E-E space bus?
No, I think it's just B-Y-B-S-S. No,
B-B-Y-S-S?
A-B-Y... Yeah. I don't know. Words. I've forgotten how to spell Abyss just by putting a B in front of it.
That does change the whole dynamic, to be fair.
So at the start of that episode of Impact, Mitchell said they fulfilled their promise to take the title from Christian after stealing it at Lockdown. Mitchell says the world is yours, and then takes a heavy shot at CM Punk by calling Abyss the real world champion.
He should put a big dumb X on it.
And then disappear from the company after beating up David Young?
Cassidy Riley.
Cassidy Riley's probably it, isn't it? It's probably the meanest thing anybody said about Jungle Jack.
I don't know. Have you ever been on Twitter.com?
People don't seem to like the scapegoat. You're not wrong.
Yeah, true to name and to form.
So, Abyss comes out, which Mitchell at the start of the show. We actually opened the show with, for the only time in the history of the television show, Adrenaline Rush. It is the only time, which actually, does that mean I have to remix an Adrenaline Rush opening theme now for this and this alone?
I think you should just add Adrenaline Rush to the beginning of the theme.
Or maybe at the end of the theme. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what sounds
Whatever's
better.
easier.
I'm always remixing themes because I'm already like, alright, I do have to add at least one quote from this episode, or these episodes. So, Curse, your good idea to do a remixed intro for not every episode, but keep adding quotes to the intro.
Yeah, well, it's fun. I meant like more like error by error, or like when something really stood out. I didn't mean specifically each episode.
But I like it. You suggested it, and I'm like, that's cool. And I like when it's different for most of the episodes.
Well, it's no longer my problem, is it?
Yeah, you're the ideas guy, and then I have to spend time doing all this stuff.
They call me the Elon of the podcast.
Oh, you're a billionaire?
I wish. I would not distribute my wealth so hard.
Abyss and Mitchell come out. The crowd start chanting "Not World Champ" at Abyss. Mitchell says possession is 9/10 of the law, which it's not. That's not how the law works.
I think isn't that like fake law?
That is just one of those things people who like to steal things say. It's not true. And then if anybody wants to take the belt from Abyss, then they can, which introduces Rhino, and then we have our opening contest on Impact.
For the Real World Championship.
It's a non-title match, so Abyss is a liar, but...
Well, it could have been a Real World title match.
I guess it could have been, because he's not champion.
If Rhino had just beaten Abyss, what's to stop him from picking up the belt and going, I am the champion?
And then we just start doing a linear world champion in TNA.
And then we end up Slammiversary unifying the belt.
TNA once again puts over TNA's incredible streak of pay-per-views and calls Lockdown another home run. Do you agree?
Sure. It was yeah, fine.
Cool.
Like
a ringing endorsement.
Like a 7?
Which is, by 2005 standards, that is a home run, to be fair.
Yeah, that's fine.
Though we are also in 2006.
It's fine.
Rhino hits a belly-to-belly, begins the motion for the gore, but Bobby Roode emerges and Northern lariats Rhino while Mitchell has the referee distracted.
Why did you not highlight that one sentence?
It is highlighted. It's highlighted in the Bobby Roode and Rhino color.
Which is white?
Well, it's a very faint grey.
Some would argue too faint.
For those wondering, we have included color coding in the show notes because it's always an ordeal, especially when there's more episodes. It would have been okay for this one because there's only 3 impacts for this pay-per-view cycle, but it is usually an ordeal across like 6 episodes trying to find all the angles. So I've started color coding the angles, but there is one sentence in the middle of this which is color coded for Bobby Roode versus Rhino, which is a pay-per-view match, and the rest is for Abyss versus Christian. So Liam is confused by the fact that there is one sentence that is out of place.
But I understand now. How could I have ever been so blind?
Abyss hits the Black Hole Slam for the way Christian rushes out and brawls with Abyss. Which, by the way, Abyss issued an open challenge that Christian did not answer. So,
well, he doesn't respect the actual belt.
I think he's a coward.
All right, you tell him that.
He was there. He could have answered it. His buddy Rhino did.
He had nothing to gain from it. He already has a match.
He could have regained his NWA title right there and then by defeating Abyss like a man instead of trying to jump him after he'd already wrestled.
Real Kaito Kiyomiya vibes.
Brawls with Abyss, hits a spear, but then Mitchell bails with the belt. Christian low bridges Abyss and Abyss scampers away. Christian calls Abyss Shrek, and Don West is like, wow, nobody has ever called Abyss that.
I'm sure that's true.
It does lead to a tremendous sign at the pay-per-view, which is Abyss as Shrek and James Mitchell as Donkey. Donkey! Christian then challenges Abyss to a tables, ladders, chairs, and chains, legally distinct, match at Full Metal Mayhem at Sacrifice. So
Full Metal Mayhem, still very cool name.
It is funny that because it's Christian making the challenge. Christian, very famous with TLC. So they multiple times this month try to invoke TLC without obviously legally doing so.
They should have said stairs first, and then they could have gotten that sweet payday a few years later.
Do a stairs match?
Yeah, could have sued the WWF for their tables, ladders, chairs, and stairs.
We own the stairs, sir.
We did it for... Well, stairs are metal, so technically.
So yeah, main event of Sacrifice, Full Metal Mayhem, Christian versus Abyss.
Whoa.
We move to the May 4th Impact, in which the main event is Christian Cage versus Alex Shelley.
I liked this match.
I liked particularly the idea of this match, that they didn't just abandon the idea that, oh yeah, Christian also was home invaded by Alex Shelley. Not just Abyss. Shelley was there too filming it, so he wants some revenge there too.
So my favorite thing about this match is that it's just Christian kicking the shit out of Alex Shelley for 80% of it. Shelley gets like barely anything in this. He gets like an enziguri and a DDT, and then Christian beats him up a bunch, and then they do a sweet like sliced bread. Christian reverses it into a whip, and then like Shelley goes into the buckle and then comes back and rolls into the Unprettier. It looks really cool.
It was a very, very smooth finish. I did like also at the start of the match, Christian obviously raging because Shelley home invasion, but Shelley is like, "Come on, man, it was in the past." He's like trying to de-escalate
Shelley's like,
things.
it's just a job.
I was just doing my job, buddy. It wasn't personal.
He said to the Sting, I was like, just doing what I was told.
Christian then slaps him, and then they brawl, and match starts off.
A stiff slap.
And they also do a bit where Christian, when they're going to break, goes out to the announce table and sits Shelley on a chair. He grabs a headset from the announce desk and a camera from Val.
He does not understand how the camera works.
He's not a documentarian like Alex is.
He pointed around the wrong way.
He wants to film the crowd?
He was pointing it at his face, and then he switched it around to do like the documentary thing. Is this the only Cage Shelley match?
They do some tag stuff. There's a really good Guns against Christian and Rhino match in 2008 that has an even more awesome finish than this one. But I don't think there's another singles. Did they do one in Ring of Honor? Am I imagining that?
I don't think so.
He wrestled Daniels in Ring of Honor. What were his other Ring of Honor matches? He was filming his own movie, which he called Boot to the Skull. And then he said, "I love story," and kicked Alex Shelley in the head and threw the break.
He almost had it if he just said, "I love cinema."
God, I could have quoted that. Would have been a great clip.
He lost to Christopher Daniels.
Yeah.
On my birthday.
Happy birthday.
And he teamed with Colt Cabana to defeat Bryan Danielson and Christopher Daniels.
Did he only do 2?
Yeah.
I guess TNA were probably pretty like, listen, we'll let you do 1 just so you seem cool, but no more than that.
Well, yeah, he did it. That tag went 28 minutes.
Despicable.
And then, but like the Daniels match went at 14. There's no rating for the match, so not that good.
I've seen the Daniels match, and it's not that good. But
I meant the tag.
It's very long.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. It's an environment in which the crowd isn't necessarily turned off by super long match.
Which is, I think, the modern critique.
Yeah. But Cage and Shelley, a very fun, interesting match with some like DDP ass finish.
Yep. So as you said, Christian beats Shelley with the Unprettier. Christian grabs the mic and says Abyss runs pretty fast for a monster, but he's 10 days away from getting the NWA World title back. And then they cut to the back where Mitchell and Abyss are backstage and challenges Christian to show up next week and try to take the NWA World title back.
I'm noticing a real inconsistency in the yellow that you used.
You see, that's the problem. It is wrong on the next one. Let me fix it. I'll fix it for you.
Well, on the first one, it's wrong then too, because it's lighter.
Listen, it's hard. It is actually surprisingly hard. I'm doing my best, man.
You just need to have like a key with like all the different colors for the things. Like you just assign all your colors in the broad topics bit, then go back and just copy paste it.
That is how I did it, but like you have to fill in the colors, and because when you look at the adding them in Google Docs, it is hard to tell just eyeballing it, the shade. The thing I should do is just use all the same ones along a single row.
Yeah.
So that I know which one's there.
Just do the whole pick one at the start and then just do all of those segments.
Like I would probably do row 4 and just do everything's across that row. That would probably make life easier for myself.
See, we're in the developmental stage. This is the beta.
The Go Home Impact. Abyss faced Chase Stevens.
You liked this.
It was a little plunder squash. It wasn't announced as a no DQ match or anything, but they let Abyss use weapons, which seems unfair because he's already wrestling Chase Stevens. You shouldn't be allowed to use weapons.
I didn't give a shit about it, but it's because, like, to me, the match was, like, nothing. It was just an angle to get to the post-match, which I think this feud really needed. I thought, like, after lockdown, the story wasn't as interesting, and this big brawl and Christian diving off the ladder was, like... After that happened, I was like, okay, I'm kind of, like, into this now.
Yeah, because it's a classic, like, we have 3 weeks until the next show coming out of lockdown. So we want to get another month out of Abyss and Christian, which, fair enough.
Probably, like, 3 weeks doesn't feel like enough to get another challenger credible.
Yeah, so it's just like, let's churn this out one more month with a stip next time. Well, it had a stip last time, too, because it was in a cage, but...
A bigger stip.
Bigger stip, indeed. A Christian-specific stip.
Some would argue that a cage match is more Full Metal Mayhem.
There is more metal.
Have they ever done Full Metal Mayhem at Lockdown?
I don't believe so.
They should call it Fullest Metalist Mayhem.
The thing people always wanted was like a 6 Sides of Steel Ultimate X.
Why didn't they do that?
I guess logistically it would be a bit weird.
Well, I mean, you can just, like, attach the things to the top of the cage, I guess.
Yeah, well, I don't think they'd be able to bear it. You would still need to hang it from the ceiling in some capacity, I think.
We'll work it out.
Mitchell isn't accompanying Abyss because he's in a secure location backstage with the NWA World title. Mitchell cuts a promo on Full Metal Mayhem as Abyss pulls weapons from under the ring. Abyss is going to have a little preview here with Chase Stevens, which everyone just is like, fine. Cool. Stevens hits Abyss right in the head with a chair, so Abyss throws Chase into a chair, wedged in the buckle, chokes them through a table for the win. And as you said, Christian comes out, appears, hits Abyss with a ladder, and then dives off the ladder onto Abyss, and security wipes them all out. And that's our little go-home segment for the Christian and Abyss match.
I don't know, if I'm these whiny babies who are pissy about not getting booked, I'd be more upset at Chase Stevens getting the booking.
Yeah, he's just a guy, but he's just a guy to lose.
He's the one guy.
He's just he couldn't have been Elix Skipper.
Exactly.
Or David Young.
Exactly.
Could have been Hoyt. Hoyt probably would have made more sense.
Then you have to pin Hoyt, I guess.
That does take us to Sacrifice. JB has a bitch. God damn it.
What the hell?
It's not the first time I've slandered Abyss like that. JB has Abyss and Mitchell. Christian must go through a gauntlet of tables, ladders, chairs, and chains. Tonight, click Doomsday to make Christian's death wish come through with a black hole slam through one last table, Liam. The one awaiting him in the morgue.
Tables are in the morgue?
They're going to kill him.
Pro wrestling style tables?
They're going to kill him.
Awesome.
Which, you know what? Usually you'd be like, it's a bit dumb that they're going to say they're going to kill him. But Abyss did try to drown the man last month, so it's actually pretty consistent.
Yeah, and he's already the champion, so now he doesn't have to worry about winning the title off a dead man.
That's a good point. Long-term storytelling.
Garrett, I have big news for you.
What's the big news?
Bryan Danielson has defeated Jeff Jarrett.
Despicable. Classic AEW bias toward Ring of Honor rather than TNA history. No world in which that should happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly not my world. The feature before this match is one that you liked.
Yeah, they did like a vignette, and I'm a sucker for like a vignette. And it's the easiest thing in the world, which is highlights of the feud with classical music that is escalating.
Yeah.
If you ever just want a simple way to make a match feel big, that's how you do it.
They do for, I think, nearly every match on the show. Maybe even some that don't deserve them. Probably not the X-Cup matches, but they do have pre-match video packages for the vast majority of the matches on their shows these days.
Good! Why did we move away from that?
Because, like, AEW is too insanely paced to do it. And WWE does do it, but...
AEW does them all on, like, digital media. And, like, the 0 hour. But, like, I don't know. I think they're cool. And they get you, like... I think the pre-match hype videos work, especially for, like, a company like AEW that has 55 matches that is burning out the crowd. Like, It gives the crowd a moment to catch their breath and get hyped up again.
The problem with AEWs, though, is they're often then, the ones that make the show, if there are any, they are, like, 45 seconds, as opposed to, like, a more substantial, like, 2 minutes. And, like, it's a thing that when they click, when you get obviously the My Way one is the most famous and will be cited until the end of time, but, like, when you get the right combination of song and story, like, it helps immortalize a match. Like, it helps a match stand in time when it has one of those video packages. Like, not that Bryan Danielson winning the world title at WrestleMania is a smaller moment without the Monster video package, but the Monster video package sure as hell helped.
Yeah, it's like an AEW example, the Hangman Kenny one, where it's like before they did the match at Full Gear, they had the whole, like, him coming in on the horse and then recapping the whole feud. Like, there's just moments like that where it work.
It said it helps immortalize things, and especially when you're a company at the level of AEW, which is bigger than TNA here, and with a little more money to work with for perhaps better songs to use to punctuate these video packages, or even just some kind of brand deal to plug the song.
And connections to maybe a giant company that has the ownership of most music.
No, Warner Brothers don't have any music.
Historically, no.
I actually think they have sold a lot of it.
Yeah, they still have the library, though.
They are a well-run company. JB has Christian right before the match, says, carrying around a belt doesn't make you a champion. Ask Jarrett, he did it for 4 years.
Oh, you.
He said, and they say, I don't have jokes anymore. Very happy with himself about that one. He made Full Metal Mayhem famous. I think that was Abyss and Jeff Hardy, personally. But then he's going to take back his title. And then our main event, Full Metal Mayhem. Christian Cage defeats Abyss to retain and regain the NWA World title.
They did themselves some plunder.
Yeah, I preferred the match last month. There is some good, cool moments, like Abyss belly to bellies Christian into a ladder in the corner. He throws him off the top through 2 tables, and he misses one of the tables, but grazes like the side of it with his back in a way that sucks way more.
So hurt.
It's one of those things, like, it's so much worse to have not gone through a table.
Yeah.
Because it would have been fine if he just hit one, but he hit right down the side of the one he didn't hit, and it did not look pleasant.
No, not at all.
The big bit was Mitchell got his thumbtack bump, so Christian got his revenge on Mitchell. He hit like a Uranagi into the thumbtacks. Mitchell, a pro, by the way, took the jacket off so he could take the thumbtack bump.
Yeah, and then plus, like, all of the tacks would stick in better.
Christian concertos Abyss while his head is on a table.
Mean of him. I like Concerto Lord, though. I'm a sucker for it.
The long-term concerto story.
Yeah.
There was a long while where neither Edge nor Christian did it, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Then they brought it back.
It was always fun. It really did feel like a kill move.
Christian goes to climb, looks at the belt, looks at Abyss who's on a table, decides to frog splash Abyss through a table, then gets up and gets his belt, so he is still champion. I would say it's a little on the disappointing side, I would almost say.
Yeah.
Especially, like, for Abyss, who's great in Plunder, and Christian, who, like, this is his match, he said so. It's only good. It's, like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not, like, a terrible match by any means.
No.
But it is merely good.
And in a company that has had, like, a lot of way better pay-per-view plunder.
Usually featuring Abyss.
Yeah.
Like, if this was Sabu, it would be a different story.
Yeah.
And for good reason, because Christian doesn't throw himself through enough tables. He only misses them and hurts himself way more.
Yeah. The finish is, like, funny.
You have what? Because he didn't choose to.
Yeah, like just take the belt down and then frog splash him.
He needs his revenge. He is driven
He
by
can get
revenge.
both. Best of both worlds.
A Hannah Montana situation.
Yeah.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Sing the Hannah Montana song.
You got the limo out front. Ooh-oh. Hottest styles, every shoe, every color. I don't know the next line.
When you're famous, it can be kind of fun. It's really you, but no one ever discovers.
Do you know all the lyrics?
I used to. I watched a shit ton of Hannah Montana growing up.
So did I. It's the classic. It's always on multiple channels at all times. Kids don't know the joy of that in streaming. You can't just Google the lyrics.
No, I'm trying to. I just need the next bit.
Yeah, it's like da 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 like you, the
Yeah, 'cause
doubles
then
as a
yeah, 'cause
superstar, but I don't know what the da 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 is.
In some ways, you're just like all your friends, but on stage, you're a star. You get the best of both worlds.
No. You can give the you got the best of both worlds more punch there.
Best of both worlds.
You can commit to that one.
Mix it all together, and you know it's the best of both worlds.
She does that laugh at the end.
I think it actually just goes, yeah. I think it's a ha 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 ha. Apparently in verse 2 it goes, you go to the movie premieres, and then it goes, was that Orlando Bloom?
No, it wasn't.
And there you go. Impromptu Hannah Montana sing-along.
That takes us over to the other kind of co-main event, really, for Sacrifice, which is Sting and a partner versus Jeff Jarrett and Scott Steiner.
Well, if you ask Jeff Jarrett, it's the main event.
He does say so at one point this month. He does say the main event.
Do you think he thinks he's main eventing the show?
Even in The Observer, Dave is like, they didn't announce the main event until the Go Home Impact. It's like, no, that Christian and Abyss was made on the first Impact, Dave. What are you talking about?
I guess he's talking about Jeff then.
There is some talk about the consensus seems to be that Christian is a bit of a flop.
Why? I guess, like, because he's not... Again, but is that, like, Dave and Wade?
I think it is a little bit of it, like, rankings aren't going through the roof with Christian as champion. But I think a little bit of it is people recognizing in real time that he's a natural heel. He's better as a heel.
Yeah. It's so funny that Christian is main eventing a giant pay-per-view tomorrow in 2024.
Yeah, we are talking about Sacrifice 2006, in which people have written off Christian as a main eventer even here in TNA, and he is about to main event another show 18 years later. Fair enough. Once again, co-main eventing, and he might not even go on last this time. But
I think he will. Unless, I guess, the Anarchy in the Arena is the other, like, thing.
Honestly, there's maybe more of a case to put Monet on last than Swerve and Christian.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that plays out. April 27th, Impact. JB has Jarrett and Steiner. At Sacrifice, it will be Jarrett and Steiner versus Sting and a partner of Sting's choosing. Larry walks in and says Sting has asked Jarrett and Steiner to meet Sting in the ring tonight, where we'll find out who his partner is.
Ooh.
Completely unrelated, we'll talk about it here for no reason whatsoever. Samoa Joe defended the X Division title against Jay Lethal.
It's always, like, fun that, like, Joe... Like, in the middle of, like, a World X Cup, there's just, like, matches like this happening.
And I do appreciate that, like, Joe, obviously, for reasons we'll get into in a moment, doesn't have an X Division title match at the pay-per-view. So they do, like, a little one on TV.
They give you something.
But it is funny how, Joe is wrestling Lethal on TV, Shelley is wrestling Christian on TV, in the middle of a tournament in which they're meant to be in.
Mm.
And they are in, to be fair. Joe jumps Lethal in the midst of chaos with Raven, which we'll talk about in a moment. Joe's mid-air interception of a leapfrog is one of my favourite moves. The one where he kind of like drops down, grabs the dude's leg, and just kind of takes them down in a flapjack. Really cool.
One of the rare good catch spots.
Lethal gets a flurry, but Joe cuts him off with a mid-air ST Joe, not even the corner one, like just snapping him out of the air when he does a springboard, which is also awesome. Wins with the muscle buster. And then Jeff Jarrett's music hits to cut off Joe, and he and Steiner enter, as Joe has a face-off with both Jarrett and Steiner after the match.
What could it mean?
Which is the second time they've done this, if you remember. Not with Steiner, of course, but with Jarrett they did it last year with the entrances rolling into each other and a face-off.
And we were like, I wonder if this will be a thing.
Turns out, no, it's not. Sting picks them.
Yeah, well, Jarrett picks. That's the problem.
So Jarrett and Steiner are in the ring as Sting enters. Jarrett demands to know who Sting's partner is. Sting says, I'm going to let you choose. 2 tunnels, either side of the building. There's a different wrestler behind each tunnel. Tunnel A, Tunnel B, Tunnel A, Tunnel B. Christy Hemme, you come out here so you can reveal the tunnel. And he's like, Jarrett, you can choose Tunnel A or Tunnel B, or you can also choose neither.
Shut up, phone! It's so funny that the thing that started just bursting out of my phone was Kenny Omega saying snake in the grass.
It's snake in the back one, Kenny, please. Come on, no more gimmicks. That is the most Gen Z thing you have ever done.
What?
Which is accidentally blare like a TikTok in the middle of
It was a Twitter clip.
What are you on Twitter for?
I thought I had a message. I opened my phone. And then it just went to Kenny Omega going, snake in the grass.
Just playing things out loud in an inappropriate setting like the Gen Z kid that you are.
Okay, boomer.
I was standing at the bus stop earlier, and there was this dude who was just playing TikToks, like out loud, at a bus stop that had like 10 other people there. It's like, how have we societally allowed this to happen?
Was it like very loud or like just on his phone loud?
It was just on his phone loud, but still,
that's
get
fine.
headphones. Get headphones.
That's fine.
No.
That's fine.
Stop interrupting other people with your TikToks.
That's fine.
Tunnel A, Tunnel B, Christy Hemme. Jarrett can choose neither. It was pretty incoherent, the rules of this game show, by the way.
I don't think anyone quite understood what was going on.
Because it was meant to be a play on Deal or No Deal.
But, like, that's not what Deal or No Deal is either.
So the idea is Jarrett could choose one wrestler, another wrestler, or bump it to next week by choosing neither.
Okay, if it was Deal or No Deal, there would have been 4 briefcases, one representing each week, and then he would have picked the last one. And then boom, like, each week, they'd be like, his reaction to the ones that he didn't pick.
Because, yeah, because, like, next week they do it completely differently to this week, and the third week they do it completely differently again. So it's like, well, you did not think through the game show element. It's not a very well-designed game show.
Like, it could have worked quite easily. You have him pick a briefcase that he has to stick with, and then, like, he gets the results of all the other briefcases, and he goes, aha, cool, I don't have Lex, I don't have Rick, I don't have Buff. And then you have him open it on the last week, and it just says Samoa Joe.
It must be noted, Don once again identified Christy Hemme as Miss Playboy April 2005.
He knows it well.
So Sting sets a timer, they do a countdown. Jarrett's like, I'm calling your bluff, I take neither, because you don't have anybody. There's nobody behind those tunnels. Important to note, Steiner was like, choose a tunnel.
Steiner was like pissy about it all.
Yeah, he wants to get out of the way. He just wants to know who he's going to wrestle. He doesn't want this bullshit. Sting does the big reveal because neither man has been chosen. There is 2 men behind the tunnel and they are both out. But he does big reveals for them anyway. So tunnel number 1 is a former member of the NWO, a former 5-time WCW Tag Team Champion with 4 different partners.
I had no clue who this was.
He's currently on probation in Cobb County, Georgia, and that's a shoot.
That's a
Sting.
shoot.
His mom was one half of the WCW World Tag Team Champions. It's Buff Bagwell.
Ooh.
Jared calls Buff a top hat wearing moron, which is good. He's just like, screw it. Tunnel number 2, Liam, was a college football scholarship to the University of Miami.
Ooh.
A member of the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame.
Ah.
Was with the World Bodybuilding Federation. He's an international fugitive, and that's also a shoot. It is 2-time WCW champion. It's Lex Luger.
Oh.
So Luger's out, Buff is out, we punt to next week. Deal or no deal continues.
What a good little payday for these guys.
To just come out and do nothing?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a fun... I am always pro stunt booking for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's pretty cool to just get, like, Lex Luger in. As you said, like, or when we were covering it in the news, he's not there to wrestle 100 times a year. He's just there to, like, be a prop in this angle. And it's like, oh, Lex Luger's on TV. That's fun. Sting came up with the deal or no deal concept that was played out at the last Impact tapings. The feeling backstage was that he flopped in his attempts at humor and talked too long, so his segments will have to be edited down. Sting is best in small doses, says one TNA wrestler. He did himself harm. He tried to be funny. Instead, he was long-winded and boring. And that's a shoot.
That's a good own.
I like the way PW Torch then explain that last sentence is meant to be a rib on Sting, who kept saying, and that's a shoot, when he talked about the jail time Bagwell and Luger had served when he's introducing them as mystery wrestlers during his segment at the taping. Way to explain the joke, PW Torch.
Well, yeah, because wrestling's dumb and wouldn't get it.
I do think Sting lost the thread a few times in these things, but I don't know, he's Sting.
Yeah.
There's so much you can get away with the sentence, he's Sting.
Yeah, he's Sting.
May 4th, Deal or No Deal, round 2. This time, one tunnel. Jarrett can say yes or no to the tunnel, and so you can either accept whoever's behind the one tunnel, or once again, punt it one more week to the final week before Sacrifice.
Cool. The rules are disintegrating around us.
Steiner, a man who obviously transfixed with the idea of odds surrounding Sacrifice, wants to take this deal because he doesn't want to punt it the next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if there's one person you should listen to the math about.
He doesn't care who Sting has. Jarrett then cams Steiner. Jarrett then asks if Tenay has any insight, and Tenay says, take the deal. Jarrett calls this match the pay-per-view main event here. He asks the crowd say yes, so then he says no, which is a good bit.
Technically, he wasn't lying. Like, he did poll them, and it did influence the main event or whatever.
That is true. If they had said no, he would have said yes.
Exactly.
So we punt again to next week, so this person is null and void. Sting intros them. They are an all-American college wrestler, a top-selling real estate agent, a member of the Board of Education in his local area, and that's a shoot.
And a gigantic transphobe, and that's a shoot.
And should not be a member of a Board of Education, frankly. 10-time NWA/WCW Tag Team Champion, an outdoorsman no less, as Christy Hemme reveals that it is Rick Steiner.
An outdoorsman, which means he likes to hunt and kill.
Yeah, which I guess that is relevant. He wants to do murder.
I just thought it was like such an interesting note for Sting to add.
He wants to kill you. He wants to hunt and kill you. Sting does the Steiner Bros pose with Rick as Steiner and Jarrett bail down the tunnel. And my absolute favorite part of it is if you listen very closely, as they're going down the tunnel, you can hear Scott shout, "He's fat," about his own brother. It's the last thing you could hear before they cut away. You just hear, "He's fat."
They did a little pose together in the ring.
So then that takes us to Go Home Show. Deal or No Deal final round. Sting has Luger, Bagwell, and Rick Steiner with him. Sting gives Jarrett one final choice. Jarrett is fed up, says Sting is out of partners, and he's like, you can't get Hall, you can't get Hogan, you can't get Nash, you can't get Savage. There then is a very small Goldberg chant.
Do you think they were still, like, hoping?
Well, they did make him a deal or an offer this month, so it's still in the news, but yeah, it's over.
But, like, you think, like, the start of this whole, like, the week one, do you think they're like, yeah, maybe we can still get Goldberg?
Well, this was all filmed in one night. Like, this was filmed on... They taped the 3 nights of Impact straight after lockdown to help straight the Sacrifice. So it might be the case that they did film it with Joe and thinking, if we get Goldberg, we'll pivot and just not air the Joe bit.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they did at least commit to it being Joe right after lockdown. So there's not even, like... this is where the Deal or No Deal bit falls down, because he kind of offers him a choice, but there's only one guy left. It has to be this guy.
Well, it's not a choice.
Because they still, like, do the pretense.
But the last week wasn't a choice. The whole bit was meant to be that, like, Sting is stuck with whoever this is now. Because Jarrett, like, said no to everyone, and Jarrett thinks he's, like, this cool guy because he's like, you didn't actually have anyone, you're screwed. Like, no one wants to team with you. You had all your options. Like, I outplayed you. you thought I was going to pick one of these guys. Which makes no sense, because, like, why would Sting ever offer this as the final thing if he didn't just have someone as the final thing?
Because he was bluffing.
It doesn't make any sense.
He thought Jarrett would have chosen one of the other guys. He's like, fuck, I have nobody. Cassie Riley, you busy?
Yeah. They're all like, sorry, we're not booked.
So the payoff of the bit of reading down the accomplishments is so that he can read down these accomplishments to set up the reveal, which I actually thought like is well constructed in terms of like the thought process behind it.
Yeah.
So he starts running down the accomplishments once again of the person who will now be his tag team partner. So he was a solo performer at the 1984 Olympics in LA. He's a former mortgage broker. Tank Abbott's dad was his high school English teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, it's very rare that we have an earnest criticism of Mike Tenay and Don West. It's usually just something silly they say. I thought they were hitting this way too hard.
Like, oh, he's got no one. That kind of thing.
Yeah, every single time Sting read something, they did a big response being like, oh, he's done, he's over, it's done, it's over. It's like, guys, just let it play out. You don't have to hit this that hard. Just leave it play out.
Yeah.
And they were pointing out that like, oh, Sting is because Sting was doing a delivery, being like, oh, he's a former mortgage broker, as if he was defeated. And they're like, oh, Sting's been defeated. He doesn't seem happy about this. It's like, yeah, I get that. I can hear him speak. You don't have to tell me. I can see it on the screen. He's a former bouncer in Huntington Beach, California. And then Sting suddenly perks up and announces that his partner will be the Samoan submission machine Samoa Joe to a humongous and entirely piped in pop.
No.
I think like he got a good reaction, but I think it is the case that because they filmed all three of these segments in front of the same crowd, the crowd even by the end of it with the Joe reveal was just kind of like burned
come
out.
On.
Just get to it. So they did pipe in the pop, and it is very funny how loud that pop is compared to everything else in the show. Sting holds up the Joe's Gonna Kill You t-shirt then, as it will be Sting and Samoa Joe versus Jeff Jarrett and Scott Steiner at Sacrifice. So how'd you feel about Deal or No Deal?
I mean, I didn't hate it. I mean, it was fun. Like, it was in that, like, it wasn't quite comedy, but it was, like, it was wacky. Maybe, like, all the segments ran a little long for me. But, yeah, that's it, really.
Yeah, I feel like it was a good idea that just needed to be refined a little.
Yeah.
They needed to think a little harder about how they do the setups and reveals. Because, as I said, I do really like the idea that, like, the running down of accomplishments was the way to tee up, like, the bait and switch of it being Joe. It's like, oh, that's actually kind of clever. But then the way they got to that was a little bit clumsy.
You could have just thought about it an extra 10 minutes.
Yeah, instead of just sending Sting out there and winging it. So that does take us to Sacrifice May 14th, 2006. Sting and Joe prepare for the main event earlier in the show, notably in separate locker rooms.
Can they coexist?
That becomes the thing that Jarrett and Steiner tried to hit when they are talking to JB. Jarrett is mad that JB thinks Jarrett was one-upped. Jarrett is like, I actually won because Sting can't trust Joe, and they can't coexist. And I will say, Scott Steiner cuts his first promo on Samoa Joe here and does not call him fat.
What the hell are we even doing?
And I was waiting for it. I was like, he's going to call him fat. It's going to be his first promo on Joe, and he's going to immediately call him fat. And he doesn't. It's remarkable restraint from the man. He does call him fat by the time we get to the pay-per-view next month. But fair play to you, Scott. He showed a bit of restraint. Steiner says Joe isn't man enough to beat him and says Joe's winning streak ends tonight. Then Joe also has an interview later. He's like, I don't need to sing Kumbaya to kick somebody's ass. And Steiner built his rep killing people, and I'm going to build my rep killing his.
Good line.
So Samoa Joe and Sting defeated Jeff Jarrett and Scott Steiner in a match that I kind of loved.
It's fun.
And you do look at like the reaction to it afterwards. They very like people did seem to see it as a star-making match for Joe. That like
it's a big ass spot.
Yeah, this is Joe's elevation out of the X division. He is still X champ here, but like he is moving out of the X division. He wrestled Sabu last month. He's in with the main event guys now. He's in with Sting and Jarrett and Steiner, like the big guys who have main evented WCW pay-per-views. And not only did he hang, like the dynamic between him and Steiner in particular, you're like, oh, there's something there.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's just truly undeniable, you know.
That is the thing. Like, Samoa Joe is a once in a generation talent. Like, he truly is on every level in terms of as a wrestler, as a television performer, as a promo, as a guy with presence and aura. So you put him in with any of these guys who are even like somewhat credible main eventers, and Steiner is fresh off of a WWE run that went pretty disastrously, but Steiner is still Steiner. Like, he's Scott Steiner. You look at him, he's credible, he's legit. When he talks, you're like, that's the most believable man I've ever seen. So you put him against Joe, who is also like the most believable man you've ever seen.
In different ways, too.
Yeah, and you're like, that's real. Those two men are real. And I did appreciate how much of this match, because like Joe does take a couple of overhead belly to bellies from Steiner, which is like the first time Joe has been thrown around. I guess AJ did like a torture rack bomb on him as well, so it's not the first time anybody has done a power move on Joe. But it is cool to have the dynamic where it's like it's the first time Joe is maybe outmatched by a guy's power. So it's like Steiner hits that first overhead belly to belly, and Joe looks a little bit shook and a little bit rattled, and I think that was a nice thing to show, like a different side of Joe.
Well, it's also because like AJ getting a surprise power move on him is one thing. To be like to go against someone you're like, oh, this guy might consistently outpower me. That changes my whole strategy.
Yeah. And like to be fair to Jarrett and Steiner, most of this match is them eating shit. Like it starts with them eating shit. Sting runs wild, hits double clotheslines. Steiner and Joe face off. Joe gets a little time running wild. They do get a couple of heat segments. They get a quick heat segment on Joe, hot tag to Sting. A quick heat segment on Sting, a hot tag to Joe. But for the most part, they're just eating shit. For the most part, Sting and Joe are running wild. Sting and Joe look great. Steiner, like, fair play to Steiner. Like, he's come in and he's lost so far for the most part, which is surprising, but he doesn't seem to have come in entirely with a humongous ego that he's not willing to work with these guys. And like there is some talk after the match about to what extent did Steiner and Jarrett make Joe, and to what extent did Joe make Steiner and Jarrett. Because they're like some people are like, oh, they deserve a lot of credit for getting Joe over, and some people are like, I think Joe deserves a lot of credit for making Jarrett and Steiner look like the top guys they haven't looked like for a while.
This is like a weirdly symbiotic match in that way.
Yeah, like, and I think they should realize that, shouldn't they? They should be like, oh, Joe gives us like another 3 years of our career on top. Because if we can work with Joe, then we can actually be good instead of Jarrett just desperately clinging to that spot when he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
So Sting hits a wild slingshot crossbody on Steiner. He comes down at an angle that looks like he's about to die.
Yeah.
And then Joe pins Jarrett clean with a muscle buster.
How the hell did he get this? How did he convince them?
Yeah, there is a thing from the PW Torch. The match ended with Joe pinning Jarrett clean. From all backstage reports, Jarrett was happy to do it, both for the sake of the company and because Joe is a cool guy who earned the rub.
He just thinks Joe's cool. That's really it.
And there is another note that like Jarrett, Steiner, and Sting all really like Samoa Joe, and then in brackets, really everybody does. He's one of those rare, universally admired and liked wrestlers among his colleagues, and we're said to be trying to find ways to get Joe over and make him the star of the match. So it is very much like they respect Joe. Like they respect Joe, which you have to. If you're the only way you wouldn't respect Joe is if you're an absolute idiot.
As if you are insane.
Yeah, so it is cool to be like, they do actually see it, even though they didn't for a little while last year.
Yeah.
So then we get a post-match angle where Sting offers Joe a handshake after the match. Joe hesitates. Crowd are like, do it. John West is like, do it. He put you in this spot. You should do it. You owe him. And then Joe does shake the hand, and Joe goes to leave. And as Joe is leaving, Steiner and Jarrett attack Sting. Joe has his back turned for nearly the entirety of the attack. They're beating him down. Jarrett hits Sting with a guitar, and that's when Joe turns around at the top of the ramp. The crowd chant Joe. The crowd chant Joe's gonna kill you. And Joe just turns the other way and walks away as they beat the shit out of Sting. So delaying the babyface turn a little while longer.
Because, like, I don't know, like, he also is, like, a big evil man at this point. So, like, I don't know, it just feels like it would be a little soon, I guess.
I understand why they felt like they should go with Jarrett and Sting. Like, that's the program, that's the feud. Because it's Sting.
Yeah.
The same reason Sting could get away with those Deal or No Deal segments. It's Sting. So, like,
yeah.
So, like, I get why they're like, the priority here, at least in the short term, is Jarrett and Sting, not Joe and Jarrett. It probably should have been Joe and Jarrett.
Yeah.
Like, Joe does get to beat Jarrett in a singles by the end of the year, but it's not a title match. And I do feel like Joe beating Jarrett for the title was probably the way to go.
Yeah.
Especially here after he has a ton of momentum. He is like this should have been the match that everyone's like, all right, this is the Samoa Joe company. Throw out whatever we have. Let's spend 6 months getting the Samoa Joe. Never mind anything else. Steiner locks in the Steiner recliner before a babyface army makes the save. A lot of them rushing out, and then you see Kip James strolling out at the very end. Man is not very useful in terms of helping.
Because that would require effort.
And movement, yes, which he is not wont to do. One day after a strong showing on TNA Sacrifice pay-per-view, Samoa Joe's career was nearly derailed. He twisted his knee and in the process tore some ligaments. Lucky for him and TNA, there were no third-degree tears and surgery won't be necessary.
How do you do that?
It's an explosion match on TV.
Oh,
And I believe it was during his entrance as well that he heard it.
God, that's gonna, like, make you fearful, doesn't it?
Because one, an explosion match, and two, not even doing any of the cool Samoa Joe stuff. It's the classic thing we say over and over again. Joe does all that wild shit and then nearly breaks ligaments in his knee just coming out.
That's rough.
Joe does still make Slammiversary though, so he doesn't miss too much time. The last heavyweight thing this month is Bobby Roode and Rhino.
Okay. It's definitely a very real feud that exists and happened.
A fully built match. So if you remember, there is a little story there where Team Canada were feuding with Rhino, and then James Mitchell has struck a deal with Scott D'Amore to sick Abyss on Rhino, because that's the premise of the Rhino Abyss matches we had. So it was Team Canada trying to take him out. So now we're circling back to Rhino and Team Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So as we mentioned, Abyss faced Rhino on the April 27th Impact, which Bobby Roode cost Rhino the match with the Northern Lariat. There is also a 6-man tag team main event at the Go Home show that we will talk about when we're talking about the tag title program, really. But there are Rhino and Bobby Roode are on opposite sides of that, leading to Bobby Roode and Rhino at the pay-per-view.
Yep.
Roode notably wearing the Terry Taylor robe for, I believe, the first time.
He has begun to find his look.
Yeah, the black and red robe, which will have a long history in TNA because we've seen it from Terry Taylor so far. Scott D'Amore wore it for the Dusty Rhodes match, and now Bobby Roode is wearing it for the first time. And we will see it once again. Roode will wear it for a lot of his run, and we'll see it again in 2023 when Scott wears it one more time for Slammiversary.
The lore. Robe lore.
There is long-term robe lore in TNA. There is like 20 years worth of it. They start the match brawling on the floor, including a suplex on the ramp. D'Amore poked Rhino with the flag to distract him. He was like jabbing him with it. It was very good. Allowing Roode to push him off to the floor. D'Amore smashed a hockey stick across Rhino's back, which distracted him, allowing Roode to hit the Northern Lariat for the win in a pretty boring match.
You've summed it up perfectly.
Yeah, like Roode's not there. That's just the reality of it.
But like he's not even like on the level of similar contemporaries like your AMW. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because when we did the singles push for Harris in 2004, like Harris was a lot closer to being there than Roode is here.
Yeah.
And Storm hasn't really gotten much in the way of singles stuff, but I think even if you tried to break out Storm as a singles guy now, he would have a lot more than Roode has here.
Yeah.
And Roode does kind of find his groove, obviously post Beer Money. It would take another tag team for him to find it. But you do look at Roode here and you are like, listen, there's nothing mechanically wrong with him. Like, it's not the case that he's doing things badly, but there's just nothing particularly exciting about him either. And Rhino kind of works to the level of the guy he's wrestling most of the time. If he's wrestling someone good, he'll have something good. If he's wrestling something bad, he'll have something bad. And this is kind of boring. All right, let's take things over to the X Division. Let's start with the World X Cup.
It's a big X Division month.
It is in theory, anyway, because we have the return of the World X Cup.
Not exactly an in-depth month, but there is a lot of X Division.
Yeah, because like this is the return of the World X Cup, so we have the World X Cup tournament throughout the entire month of May, culminating in Sacrifice. So the tournament format is 2 tag team matches, 2 singles matches, and a gauntlet. That's it.
It's really bad.
They spent all this time putting together all these teams for 2 tag team matches, 2 singles matches, and a gauntlet.
Do you think they wanted like bigger plans, but because of the way everything worked out, it just didn't happen?
I don't think so. I just think they didn't have enough time to actually do a tournament.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, like the X Cups, the way they did them in 2004 was they were devoted to a single show. Like the entire pay-per-view would be the America's X Cup or even the World X Cup. So, and even like the first Super X Cup was that same way too. The 2005 one wasn't. That was a month-long tournament. But like, it's just the case they had 3 one-hour impacts to try and cram in a tournament. And you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, again, it's just like, I feel like you could have found some interesting ways to work around that.
And, like, the problem is, the way you would have done that is more interesting stuff at the pay-per-view. I think the big flaw, ultimately, is not the 2 singles and 2 tags. It is the gauntlet.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't have come up with anything better than that. Because in 2008, they do the 3v3v3v3 match, and then the Captain's Ultimate X. So, which is a better way, I think, to do the pay-per-view culmination, as opposed to just, let's lump them all in a gauntlet.
Yeah. And then, like, you get a bunch of guys who haven't, like, wrestled at all, and they're just showing up in this gauntlet now.
Yeah, like Tyson Dukes, Magno, a bunch of people who just were not seen at all.
Well, Magno was in the tag, wasn't he?
Or Incognito, one of them.
Yeah, Incognito.
Yeah, he's too under the radar for me to notice him. But like, there's a bunch of people in that gauntlet that you see for the first time in the gauntlet. And it's like, that's the only contribution they have in the tournament. So, April 27th Impact. You do have probably the most fun match of the tournament. It is Team USA's Alex Shelley and Sanjay Dutt versus Team Japan's Haruki Goto and Minoru Tanaka.
It's because you almost feel like for a second there's going to be a story.
Yeah, because these are 4 really good wrestlers having a really good TV match. Like, they get a little bit of time. It's not too rushed. And they have, like, just a real fun TV match. And then you're like, oh, if the entire thing is like this, it'll be fun. And the entire thing isn't like this. It's even like the other 2 tags and singles are kind of boring. They're not even that good.
Yeah.
This is like the highlight of the tournament, which is like a 3 to 5 6-minute TV match.
Which is sad.
But it is fun.
Yeah. And like, well, it's only really fun because of the Shelley stuff.
Penzer calls Goto here Haruko Goto.
It's close enough.
Don calls Minoru Minoru.
Again, close enough.
Only Mike Tenay should be allowed to actually refer to these people by name. The format, by the way, first round win, so winners of the tag team matches gets 2 points. Second round win, which is the singles matches, gets 3 points. And then the gauntlet winner gets 5, and the gauntlet runner-up gets 2.
Awesome.
So, yeah, D'Amore joins commentary here. PD is taking notes behind him. D'Amore announces that Johnny Devine and Tyson Dukes will be the other 2 members of Team Canada with PD and Eric Young, because A1 and Bobby Roode aren't really X Division guys.
Yeah, but there's no limits. But they mean stylistically.
He wants a stylistic match, even though Rude was in the X Cups in 2004. D'Amore does note that Minoru and Goto are former IWGP Tag Team Champions, well, Junior Tag Team Champions, but he says Tag Team Champions. Lynn and Sabin watch on backstage. Team Japan work over Shelley, but he turns the tide with a missile dropkick senton combo, which is kind of neat, and he gets a hot tag to Sanjay. Shelley drops an air raid crash on Minoru onto Goto. They get a near fall on Goto with a code breaker where Shelley held Goto in place, and then Dutt comes with a moonsault. Goto has a little flurry with a missile dropkick, backdrop suplex, and Olympic slam, but is put down by a Shelley sliced bread, followed by a Sanjay Dutt standing shooting star. Really fun little match. It's fun to see Goto get to flex his muscles a little bit.
And Minoru Tanaka is so cool.
He's the coolest man on earth. He's the coolest. It's insane how cool he is.
He has a real aura about him.
He does. He just stands there, cocks his head, and looks like the coolest guy you've ever seen in your life.
Does like a little hand thing. You know his little hand thing that he does? Like he like sweeps it.
It's so cool. He's so cool. It's unbelievable. Shelley and Sanjay, a nice little team as well. They had some fun double team stuff in this one.
Just Shelley is like the little snake in Team USA is so funny.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we'll talk about the Nash stuff separately from this and then lead it all together. But yeah, Shelley is just like the guy in the team that nobody likes because he's friends with the Canadians and then also friends with Kevin Nash. May 4th Impact, Team Mexico's Shocker and Magno face Team Canada's Johnny Devine and Eric Young.
Yes.
Shelley comes to ringside to film things. Shocker barely hits a moonsault that then Tenay generously refers to as a headbutt. Tenay does bring forward Shocker's past with Sabin, and Shocker is mad at Shelley filming ringside, which brings forward their rivalry from last year too,
that's cute. That's a cute little acknowledgement.
And they incorporate into the gauntlet as well. So I think that's fun that they actually respected their history, which feels like it's a thing that TNA doesn't really do.
Yeah, because like once people move on, they move on.
It's really weird that like the things that happened in 2004 in TNA might as well have not happened in 2006.
Well, I think part of it is that a lot of the feuds that do happen, eventually those guys just leave. They don't like stick around as much.
And I think the bigger issue is they see like certain points as kind of resets. Or like the FSN era is kind of a reset and the Spike era is kind of a reset. So for the most part, they only treat like the Spike era as stuff that's really important to continuity. Like there is some stuff where like Storm has some offhand lines about how Daniels should tell AJ what it's like to face AMW because he has experience with it. So there is some stuff like that where they do actually, actually reference their history. But it is nice to see them do it here too with Shelley and Shocker, who had a series of 3 matches last year, and they are actually like referencing it and making it matter a little bit.
Then we get some little dissension between Team Canada and Alex Shelley as Shelley goes for a real close shot, ends up hitting Devine. Well, Devine ends up hitting him through an Irish whip, and then they go nose to nose.
Yeah, so Shocker pins Devine with the cradle, and Shocker did the same dance he did with Sabin with Magno, by the way. Despicable. D'Amore shouts at Shelley, and as now Mexico and USA both have 2 points.
Team Canada losing.
Yeah, not a good tournament run for Team Canada, even though they end up tying it.
Don't worry about it.
It is still up in the air regarding the 4th member of Team Mexico. Abismo Negro was supposed to be at the pay-per-view on TV last week as Shocker's partner in the tag team match against Eric Young and Johnny Devine. Nobody had any idea he wasn't coming. He had the plane ticket sent, and when he got to the airport, Shocker was there and his partner wasn't, with the story that Abismo Negro's visa had expired. If true, nobody from AAA ever informed the company, and in Dave's mind it should be incumbent on AAA to inform the company and then send a replacement, although the visa issue holdup could actually be real. So...
Well, like, it's hard to trust anymore.
Yeah, there's talk of Dave where he's like, I don't anticipate them doing this anymore because of what a shit show getting these teams together has been.
Yeah.
And they do one more, but you can kind of understand why they stopped doing them when you read like the absolute disaster getting a Team Mexico for this tournament has been.
It must be like very difficult.
Because like you have to coordinate with at least 2 international partners. Like they at least have Team Canada, which is just a bunch of guys they can bring from Canada, or just put the guys they have on TV. So that's fine. And Team USA is fine. So you then have to reach out to a Japanese company and a Mexican company to try and get a Team Mexico or Team Japan, or like pluck some from the UK indies or something. But all those need visas, all have logistics, all have little annoying promotional concerns, or those companies being crazy. In both the case of AAA and CMLL, I think here. But it is a pain in the arse. And for the sake of the tournament they ended up getting, a pain in the arse that wasn't worth it.
Tournaments like this must just be a bitch.
Yeah, because like you're getting 4 guys from Japan and 4 guys from Mexico, all who need visas, all who need flights, and you have to sort all that shit out. And then if there's any delay with the visa, you have to find a replacement.
Booking.
And then booking who wants to lose, who's willing to lose. Some companies, we'll talk about that with it. There's some weird New Japan stuff with Liger. We'll talk about when we get to the PD match. But it's just a pain in the arse. It is just a pain in the arse. But when it goes well, it's cool. But
yeah,
I don't know. And it is the thing that made them stand out in 2004 in particular. During a pretty rough era for the company, there was at least those international tournaments that gave the show a different flavor, even if they did over-rely on them a little bit.
It was the strongest like part of it.
May 11th Impact, we go to the singles matches as Team USA's Chris Sabin faces Team Mexico's Puma.
This was okay. You liked it a little more than me. I just thought it was kind of long.
Yeah, apparently Sabin is still a little banged up from when he hurt his foot a few months ago, if you remember that, when he was going into the
Makes sense, because I feel
match.
like he's never really on the shows.
Yeah, so he's like still cleared to wrestle, but still like feeling the lingering pain from that. So, but even then, I don't know. This wasn't very good. As you said, it was a bit long and a bit boring. Like, it got time, which is nice, but then they didn't have a very good match, which isn't very nice. This is where TNA announces that Liger will face PD in the other singles match at Sacrifice plus a 16-man gauntlet. All the other teams watch on from the ramp. Sabin hits a hesitation dropkick, wins with a cradle shock. It's fine.
I was going to say, like, I did like all the other teams being like, this is important.
It is cool to see that, like, collection of talent on TV, and, like, the group shot of Team Japan in particular. Like, what a cool bunch of guys. Because, like, they're stable in Japan. The guys they brought over is Liger's CTU stable. And Liger shows up at the pay-per-view, which brings us to Sacrifice, in which Liger faces Petey Williams. And Liger's in his black CTU gear. And, yeah, like, what a cool stable that is, with Goto and Minoru Tanaka and Black Tiger.
It's really funny. Like, I was watching this, like, there should have been a 3-way, and they should have had Black Tiger and Puma in the same match. What are we doing here?
Yeah, and that would have been cool. Why wasn't that the singles match on TV?
Yeah, well, I guess they would be scared it's like they don't have a TNA guy to like hold down the fort.
Because like there is, again, to give out about the annoying wrestling media. Like there's a whole feature in the PW Torch about like, why are they putting these matches on TV? They have no story. I'm like, I hate all.
Oh my god,
I hate all of you. I hate you all so much. You're the worst.
It's nice to know that like these shitty talking points weren't invented.
It's like nobody knows who these guys are. They're putting them out on TV in matches. Because like the Team Canada against Team Mexico match didn't do a good rating, and people are like, "This is why." It's like, well, maybe it's because it's a bunch of nerds.
Yeah.
These people are unbearable. But yeah, Liger's here.
Yeah, I bet they weren't whining their assholes off about that.
He has a pretty good match. It's okay against PD. It's nothing special, but it's a nice little match where the pay-per-view feed went out and they had to replay it later in the show, but not ideal.
It's nice to see Liger.
Yeah, Liger's just one of those guys where like even if he's having, I think this was like a 7 or 8 minute match, and it's just Liger kind of playing the hits. Hits a nice dive to the floor, goes for an elbow. PD moves, so he hit a shoot senton because PD didn't move enough out of the way, so he just came crashing down on him. But yeah, it's freaking Jushin Liger. You get the Liger theme song, which is always a thumbs up. It's Liger. What more do you want from wrestling?
Yeah, I'm not going to be disparaging about getting a Liger match on a pay-per-view.
Minoru distracts the ref, allowing Goto to hit a low blow. Liger hits a reverse choke slam, or like reverse rock bottom, whatever you call that, for the win. As the scoreboard heading into the gauntlet matches. Team USA, 5 points. Japan, 3 points. Mexico, 2 points. Canada, 0 points.
Yeah, Canada, they got no chance, am I right?
Yeah, they're never getting out of this tournament with a win. It's not going to happen. There was a situation that took place regarding New Japan and TNA leading up to the pay-per-view that at one point threatened to end the relationship. The original plans were that the X-Cup would go down to a three-way tie with Canada, Japan, and the US, leading to a three-way match with Saban, Liger, and PD. Liger was scheduled to beat PD, and a Japanese member was scheduled to finish second in the X Division Rumble. Therefore, New Japan would be on 5 points, Team USA would be on 5 points, and Team Canada would be on 5 points. New Japan officials then told TNA that they had a change of plans and they didn't want Liger wrestling 2 straight days. Nobody could figure out what the deal was, since New Japan doesn't even start its next tour until the 27th of May. They show on the 14th. So the finish was changed with New Japan taken out of the playoff.
It's very weird.
Even stranger was New Japan officials insisted that Liger's win over Petey Williams come only due to outside interference from his teammates. Dave could understand that from a New Japan standpoint, the CTU stable is a heelish group that sticks together. TNA was negative about that because they expected Liger to be a face against Petey, which he was. The big argument was that they had booked several screwjob finishes on the show and they felt the opener needed a clean finish. At one point, the agreement was that Liger would pin Williams with clean with no interference, but CTU members could be at ringside. Then when they were out there, they just did the finish. So, low blow, Liger won. Seems like really weird. Like, why are you demanding the dude doesn't win clean?
Well, like, it's just weird that the whole time, like, TNA's like, yeah, we're really gonna, like, push Liger as a big deal, and they're like, no.
Yeah, they're like, no, we want him to cheat, no clean wins for Liger, and we don't want him to get to the final.
Yeah, I don't know. Very odd. I guess, like, just, I don't know. Maybe they just wanted, like, the pictures of Liger cheating in America.
Yeah, and that's what they wanted out of it. And, like, Liger also pulling out of the cage match last month. It's a weird month for Liger.
New Japan, weird company at times when it comes to dealing with promotional partners.
And that's why tournaments like this are a nightmare.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if it's one company, you know?
So then we also had the gauntlet for the deciding points. No gold on the line.
Gauntlet for the points.
So Team Canada's Petey Williams won an X Division gauntlet, beating Team Mexico's Puma in the World X Cup. So 5 points for Team Canada, 2 points for Puma. All right, deep breath. Minoru Tanaka and Puma started. PD next, Saban next, Goto next, Incognito next, Divine next. Incognito hit a real nice tope, and then Tenay mentions that Incognito was studying to be a priest, similar to the main character from Nacho Libre, an upcoming movie starring Jack Black.
I saw that in the cinema plex.
I've never seen Nacho Libre.
Oh, well, I guess we know what our second movie is.
That's our next Mystery Vortex Theater.
Yep.
There you go. Committed. Nailed on.
We're just going to keep watching movies I've seen 5 times and you've never seen. How did you avoid Nacho Libre?
I don't know. It looked stupid.
It mostly is.
Dut next, Black Tiger next, Magno next. Incognito hit a springboard moonsault that was so incognito the camera missed it.
Poor guy. All the luchador guys just kept getting, all their cool shit was off camera.
EY came out to a big reaction, crowd chanting Eric, as you see the groundwell support behind Eric Young here already, which is nice.
They thought it was Watts.
No, that's... What would he doing in a World X Cup?
No fucking weight limit, Garrett.
He's not Canadian.
Could be. He's the most Canadian-American I've ever seen.
We do have precedent of non-Canadians being on Team Canada with Jack Evans, but still. Dut and Incognito eliminated each other. Dut hurt his ankle and doctors helped him out, which was a worked injury, I believe, to cover why he didn't involve himself with Kevin Nash, but we'll talk about that in a second.
I did think that was interesting.
Because he did a big promo on TV being like, oh, if Nash wants to come, I'll face him. So I think they did the injury to cover for the fact that that's why he didn't confront Nash, I think.
And maybe, again, that all changed because of the Liger stuff, too. Because then Puma wouldn't have been the second, Liger would have been the second, so maybe there was a Nash thing earlier.
Yeah, it might have made more sense without all that changing. Shelly out next. Saban saved Shelly from elimination, but gets eliminated by Divine. Then Shelly throws out Divine. Liger out next. Shocker next. Magno got thrown out during Shocker's entrance, so another off-camera thing for Team Mexico. Shelly and Shocker have a little face-off, calling back to their feud from last year. Shocker took out Black Tiger. Tyson Dukes out next. Shelly eliminates Goto. Lethal is the last guy out. Lethal takes out Minoru. Shelly eliminates Shocker. Dukes eliminates Liger. followed immediately by Lethal clotheslining EY out. So Tyson Dukes got the privilege of eliminating Jushin Liger from this match.
I wonder if that was like a little fuck you to New Japan.
Yeah, we're going to have the biggest nerd we can get in this thing, who is only seen in this match, nowhere else in this tournament.
He doesn't wrestle, but he does appear in the Team Canada watching the match video.
He's just hanging around.
He's probably doing Explosion, right?
I assume so. But yeah, he's the guy that eliminates Jushin Liger. It is quite funny. Shelley eliminates Dukes. Shelley misses a knee on Petey and crashes out. Puma kicks Lethal out. Puma and Petey are your final two. Petey wins pretty quick with the Destroyer. So Team Canada and Team USA are now both tied at the top of the table with 5 points.
Oh my god, how could they have such... It's crazy how they had specifically 5 points on the line for this.
And it is funny how in the old X Cups, they did actually specifically state the tiebreak. They said it would be a captain's match in the event of a tiebreak, which it is here too, but they didn't state it in advance. So the one time it would make sense to actually say it was a tiebreak, they didn't.
That's because they wanted it to be a surprise.
It's classic wrestling. I think that is exactly what went through their minds. If we say that what the tiebreak is, people will think it's a tiebreak, and then when it is a tiebreak, they'll give out to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, the World X Cup has not been decided. We'll find out next month who wins between Team Canada and Team USA.
I'm rooting for Team Canada.
Down with America. The other big X Division story this month. On the first Impact of the pay-per-view cycle, Alex Shelley is in a hotel room. And he scored a huge interview, Liam.
It's true.
He walks up to the door, knocks, he picks up the complimentary copy of USA Today outside the door, and who answers but Kevin Nash.
Shelley then says, I got this paper for you.
Yeah, I picked it up at the store. So next week, we will get the first part of Alex Shelley's sit-down interview with Kevin Nash.
I love that it looks exactly like a shoot interview.
It does. It is literally, we took a camera to a hotel room and we're filming him.
Like that's a very self-aware sort of parody to do for 2006 too. To be like, let's do a shoot interview bit.
Like literally straight out of like a Ring of Honor or a video thing.
Yeah. Makes sense with Shelley, I guess, and I'm sure Kevin Nash has done a couple by this point.
Yeah, Nash was a favorite of those, wasn't he?
Yeah.
The You Shoot stuff, which of course, like the what's the name of the dude who co-hosts this podcast?
The guy who did the You Shoot stuff.
Yeah.
Something Oliver.
Yeah, Sean Oliver?
Sean Oliver, yeah.
Yeah, so it makes sense that Nash is aping that style even here.
Good bit.
So we come back from break and Tenay and West are shocked because this is the first time we've seen Kevin Nash since he pulled out of the Bound for Glory main event.
And then, like, my favorite thing is that Mike Tenay's like, yeah, with some medical thing.
Yeah, he does throw shade at the reason Kevin Nash pulled out of the Bound for Glory main event. Since a medical emergency. May 4th Impact, we get the first part of the Kevin Nash interview.
So, there's a lot going on. We start with Nash being like, had a health scare, but then Sting came back, Steiner came back, all of them got their calls. My phone works, so I didn't get a call, despite them being substantially below his stature.
Yes,
this is
very important.
And we get the Nash doing the bit with the famous bit with with the graph showing all the top drawing champions in the WWF.
Yes, he has a whiteboard.
Yeah, Hogan, $2 million profit. Brett, $17 million profit. Nash as the Diesel character, well over $100 million, largest grossing champion in the history of the business. Austin, good little run, $50 million. And then Rock, way down to 10. That's where the business plummeted. Nash makes it obvious to note that the NW Spike is bigger than all the rest. Nash says he's not here to toot his own horn, you know? He's just great worker, credible mic skills, handsome, drug-free, a pure champion. Shelley says that's a lot like the X Division, to which Nash just goes, yeah, X Division. That's like filler. Mike Tenay, most pissed man of all time.
Yes. He's like, take the graph, turn it upside down, it would be more accurate.
I guess technically, yeah.
It probably would be closer to accurate. So yeah, this is sensational because it's the peak of Kevin Nash, which is himself taking nothing seriously, but also putting a role that's not meant to be that serious.
Yeah.
And like, there's of course a bunch of stuff about like, should you do this with the X Division, which I think is fair to talk about in 2006. Like in the moment, it is fair to the like when Kevin Nash is coming in and being like, the X Division sucks. I hate the X Division. I'm better than the X Division. I'm going to wrestle the X Division. I think it is fair to think about like, is that what you should do here? And the answer is probably no. But also, you know, we're 18 years later. Who gives a fuck? You know?
Yeah. It was like the thing is too is like I think, but like Nash is like gets it to a certain extent too, because like when he was doing the stuff on the pay-per-views, he's like, man, this X Division shit fucking rocks, and I can't follow it. So like he gets it.
Because yeah, the original intent of this was for him to put over AJ. Like it would be this would be the story, and then AJ would be the guy that beats him at the end. Obviously, I think that pivots toward being Chris Sabin instead, whom he never puts over in the end. But like the thing that I think is kind of missed is that Nash is mocking himself.
Yeah, like this is all self-parody.
Like Nash is a buffoon who's being a stupid idiot who has an overinflated sense of who he is and what he's achieved in the wrestling business, and he is mocking himself. And there's a little bit of like, oh, this is burying the X Division. How ridiculous! Like it's very funny that like Dave, like there's a note. If this interview is as described, they might as well have stuck a stake through the heart of the company. The story going around was the interview was arrogant as hell and buried everyone indirectly. And it's like, no, it buried Nash.
That wasn't it at all. Yeah, but like I guess like if you heard what the interview was about without seeing the way it was delivered, you might think that. But like seeing it, I don't know how you can have that opinion at all.
Which Dave didn't have that opinion. He thought it was pretty funny. It's like,
yeah. So like that's just the thing of like what you hear versus what it is, you know.
Very good bit. The show poster, of course, of this month is the graph, the whiteboard graph, and that may be, we're looking into it. We'll see how it goes. That might be our first T-shirt.
It's an insane first T-shirt.
Yeah, the Nash graph. The next week we have a follow-up interview. JB has Team USA backstage, and Alex Shelley is like, "Hey guys, how you doing?"
This is my favorite bit of this whole thing, where Shelley's like, "Guys, I know you don't like me. I don't like you, Jay Lethal."
Yeah, the shot at Jay Lethal is very funny.
And Lethal's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
But he says like, as an X Division wrestler and as a humanitarian and a friend, and he touches Chris Sabin. It would be remiss if he didn't show them the second part of the Nash interview. And we cut to Nash, and Nash goes that, well, my October 2007 end of my contract. They did all that for Sting. They should do a lot more for Kevin Nash. You know? So he's pissy about Nash not being pushed to the extent of Sting, and he's gonna go after that little pride and joy, the X Division. That's gonna be retaliation. Because if you destroy someone's identity, you become its identity, and then he'll have loads of leverage for his contract renewal.
Solid plan.
I love the line that a mediocre big man would destroy the best small man night in, night out. It's like, you chuck Cheeks in there with Chris Sabin, Cheeks is still winning. Nash asks Shelley what the tagline of the X Division is. Shelley says, well, he didn't come up with it, but it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. Nash says, first of all, take credit for anything you can. So that's lesson number one.
Very important.
But he wants to see them back it up, and he says he's going to bash them all, and he wants to fight them all. And then they come back to Team USA, who are like really mad, and Shelley's like, whoa. It missed the part where I went to the defense and to the battle of the X Division, and I told him how much it meant.
I do like that it's a paparazzi production. So
yeah,
it's like,
the thing that he controls the edit of.
You missed the important, valiant defense of the X Division. Oh, guys, it was right there.
And then that's when we get the whole like Dut going, I'll beat the hell out of Kevin Nash.
Yeah, as Shelley mentions, that Nash will be at Sacrifice.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's like the best of the best.
Yeah, and Nash and Shelley, perfect comic duo, great energy, bouncing off each other. It's they're so good.
Detroit boys.
So after the gauntlet match at Sacrifice, Puma, who had gone the distance, he finished second in the end, but he was with one of the first two out, so he went right the way through the match. He's standing in the ring, all beat up, when suddenly Kevin Nash appears and Jackknife powerbombs him.
And he beat him. Best big man, little man.
Nash says somebody must have pissed him off to get him here on Mother's Day.
Big pop.
It's like, was there a guy called Incognito in this match? Might as well have been an Incognito Battle Royal, because there was a bunch of nobodies here. Says Puma was the runner-up, and he got no offense in on me. Nash once again reiterates that a mediocre big man would always beat the best X Division wrestler, and says size matters.
That's penis.
Contrary to what Puma's mother might have said to him, size does in fact matter.
I don't know what that implies, Kevin Nash.
Yeah, why is Puma talking with his animalistic mother about penis sizes?
Yeah.
As noted, the original plan was for AJ to face Nash, but it's apparently going to be Chris Sabin next, with a note being Chris Sabin is considered a favorite of the booking committee head Scott D'Amore, so he was chosen for that spot.
I'm shocked.
And it makes sense that you would try to elevate. Like, AJ doesn't need it, you know?
Yeah, like, Saban is the next guy that feels like he should be elevated.
So, like, if you're going to be like, someone should beat Nash, it should be one of the other guys in the X division, which is Saban or Dutt, probably, and Saban makes most sense.
Yeah.
And as mentioned, Dutt wasn't actually hurting the gauntlet, it was just the work to get him out of the ringside area so he wouldn't be confronting Nash.
Because, like, that's something you can use to build up to the Saban.
Mm-hmm. So, one little small thing in the X divisions, we had a couple of Senshi features. Both were pretty similar.
Warrior, I'm here to fight.
Yes, that was pretty much the entire thing. So yeah, April 27th Impact, he spent 4 years in Japan working up the discipline, dedication, and respect of the wrestling world. Now he's returning to rule the X division.
Yeah, Loki, full of respect in the wrestling world.
Well, he thinks he is.
He respects himself.
He does.
And is that not the most important thing?
That is the most important thing. Then the next week, Senshi talks about how tough and cool he is and how much he fought and how all the martial arts have given him more skills. Dominated once again, as Senshi promises to become X Division champion. And noted Loki has signed a 3-year contract with TNA. And in typical Loki fashion, does not stay for 3 years.
It's really funny.
God bless the man.
What, you gotta tell him not to, you know? It's like...
You gotta tell Loki not to be Loki?
Yeah, then if Loki is not Loki, what is the point of having Loki? I like how I turned from Loki to Loki at the end there. Marvel's Loki.
They should put Loki in Loki.
Crazy.
Especially because it's a multiverse show. They should just cut away to a multiverse where Loki is Loki.
That would require more than 30,000 people in the world to get it.
Yeah, but it would be really funny.
It would be funny for us exclusively.
Especially if he's just like, Warrior. Let's head over to the tag team division where we'll start with the NWA World Tag Team Program between America's Most Wanted and AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels. On the April 27th episode of Impact, JB has Styles and Daniels. Styles said Lethal Lockdown opened his eyes to how AMW's association with Jarrett has tarnished the World Tag Team titles. Larry Z has already booked a title match next week, and Daniels will be his partner. They've had the fiercest battles in TNA history against each other. Now AMW will see what they can do together.
Enemies to lovers. Classic story.
Are they in love?
Don't think about it too hard.
What do you think about the AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels as a couple? Not a tag team, a couple.
I'm sure one of them might be okay with
it. Well, yes, one of them may be very bad about this. You're not wrong.
Yeah. Seems deeply problematic.
I think he can learn and grow.
Oh yeah, I'm sure if he had first-hand experience with it, he wouldn't be like a horrific person.
May 4th Impact. JV is backstage with Gail and Jackie.
May the 4th be with you.
Thank you. Star Wars.
This was on Star Wars Day.
We won't get the Star Wars TNA intro until 2012, which wasn't on May the 4th. It was in February.
What the fuck? What's the point?
Gail calls Jackie frumpy.
Good little foreshadowing. Because pregnant. That's the payoff, guys.
Because she's frumpy.
She's pregnant.
Wow, way to ruin everything.
Yeah.
Then we get the NWA World Tag Team title match. It is America's Most Wanted with Gail, Kim, and Jackie versus AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels.
You hated this.
You did like it a lot more than me, so take it away, buddy.
I just thought it was like a fun-ass TV match. Like, it was something that, like, I don't think would be, like, out of place on, like, a Dynamite or something, where you're just like, that was good TV wrestling. That's really just what I thought about it. I just, like, I watched it, and I thought it was a level above, like, the regular sort of shite you get on these shows.
And it is, like, this is an episode of Impact that had this match, a cool tag team title match, and also Christian Shelley was the main event of this show. So it's like, oh, look at these good matches on TV.
Yeah, again, we haven't really done, like, a full month sort of feelings thing yet, but I thought this was about as good as it gets.
In terms of, like, good matches, decent stories.
Fun shows that don't feel like they drag.
Yeah, and then a pretty good pay-per-view. Not a great pay-per-view. I think, like, maybe on the lower end of their good pay-per-views, but still an easy enough watch. Storm's ribs are still taped from Lethal Lockdown after the top of the cage stunt, which Mike and Don put over. The crowd get in our monthly Brokeback Mountain reference as they chant Brokeback Mountain.
They're cowboys, gay, etc., etc.
Styles ducked a super kick into a torture rack bomb on Storm, but Harris pulled the referee out. That's what looked awesome, by the way. Daniels takes out Harris with a dive. Gail goes for a top rope Rana, but Styles repositions her for the Styles Clash.
And then Gail hits the fucking Dragon Rana.
Yeah, Storm nails Styles with a super kick and Gail just snaps Styles over. And then Storm pinned... I know he hit the super kick beforehand, but Storm did pin AJ based on a Gail Kim Hurricane Rana, which I kind of loved.
Which was, it was awesome.
That, like, Gail's move was the move that led to the win, not Storm's, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, Styles taking that move looked awesome.
Yeah. Styles knows how to contort his body midair. Shocking to tell you. Well, not anymore, but back then he did.
So AMW retain through outside interference.
How do you feel that the currently in 2024 they are doing the like AJ final run bit?
It feels like he shouldn't be in his final run, but also he's 47, so of course he should.
Yeah. He's got enough money. Get out while you're still not, like, dying, you know?
It is one of those things where, like, I have to accept my own aging with AJ coming toward retirement. Because, like, he was the hot young guy when I was young. So now I'm old, and he's also old. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. I'm still young.
Nope.
But AJ, I said this last month, I'm going to say it again. AJ, go home. AJ, one more time. AJ, please.
I feel like it's too small for him, unfortunately.
I don't even need a run. Like, I don't need him to spend 6 more years in TNA. Just one more, you know? Just one more get ready to fly.
Do you think, like, they do a bigger building for that?
You should.
Yeah.
If you're, like, AJ
but
Styles'
also,
last
like,
TNA
you know what
match.
the problem is?
What?
All his contemporaries are in the other company.
He can wrestle Frankie.
Yeah, but like all his he's Joe.
Frankie is like his best friend.
You can do both.
Yeah.
You can like get him on All In versus Joe or something.
Well, he's not doing it. Well, he would have to leave WWE. But I just need one more, Liam. I just need one more. Get ready to fly. Just one more.
Oh, we'll see.
Later in that episode, Larry Zbyszko books a rematch, Styles and Daniels versus AMW for the tag titles at Sacrifice, but this time with Gale and Jackie banned from ringside to even the playing field.
Should have banned them from the bloody building.
And then main event of the Go Home Impact is Rhino, AJ Styles, and Christopher Daniels versus the team, Liam, of America's Most Wanted and Bobby Roode.
America's beer.
Just stop it there. America's beer.
American beer.
Beer wanted.
Beer wanted.
Money most.
In America.
Or most money, actually, is pretty good.
Most money wanted.
Or most beer money? I don't know.
Beer wanted mostly in America.
Perfect.
For money, purchasing goods.
Beer wanted for most money in America, purchasing goods, or whatever you said. Face Rhino, Styles, and Daniels. It is the AMW Beer Money Dream Team. Together, as a trio.
Woo!
Jackie's not at ringside.
It is funky to see them all together, even though I don't feel like they did a whole hell of a lot.
She was sent to get coffee in a more kind of Larry and Raven segment that we'll talk about in a minute, Jackie, so she's not at ringside. Harris tries to handcuff Don West before the match.
Again.
So, yeah, it's a thing where Harris, every time he comes out, he shouts at Don. He goes over to the announce table and shouts at him. But this time he tried to, like, latch the handcuff onto him, which is very funny.
No one else has really done the handcuff as, like, their weapon of choice, huh?
Did, like, Big Boss Man, maybe? But he was more the baton. Yeah. So, no, someone should bring back the handcuffs.
Because they're cool, because they can also be used as, like, knucks.
Yeah. Heat on AJ before he hits a flying forearm and gets the hot tag to Rhino. Rude Northern Lariats Daniels, but then eats a Pele. Super kick to AJ. Jackie runs out with coffee. Jackie throws the coffee in Storm's face, and Rhino follows with a gore for the win. For a person being blackmailed, Jackie is very insubordinate.
Yeah. Well, she's got nothing to lose now. Or she has everything to lose. You know what's stupid?
What?
That, like, nothing to lose and everything to lose essentially means the same thing.
Does it?
Well, like, because, like, people use it as, like, they're like, I'm taking a stand thing, right? They'll be like, I got nothing to lose, I'm going all out. Or they'll be like, I have everything to lose, I need to do this.
But I feel like people generally who have everything to lose don't then go all out. They try and do everything in their power not to go in at all. But you are right that in a position where you are forced to go in both instances you are encouraged to go all in.
I go double or nothing.
I go full gear.
I go revolution.
We do then go over to Sacrifice, where JB has AMW, Gale, and Jackie. Jackie is once again crying. Harris tells her to shut up because it's not about her. It's about them. Quit your whimpering, woman.
And then she's like, there's no crying in wrestling, woman.
They're sick of these teams jumping together to get a title shot, which is, I was thinking about that, because like they faced Sabin and Sanjay, but they also faced Truth and Rhino for the tag titles. So it's like, oh yeah, they are kind of facing thrown together teams for a while.
He also is like, Jackie, if you ever cost us a match again, I'll fucking murder you.
Yeah, it's like, stop it. Which is fair. She has cost them multiple matches. She does then announce that she's pregnant.
And I like how, like, no one gives a shit.
JB says congratulations.
Yeah, but, like, Harris and Jay still like, whatever. We've promo.
But yeah, Gail's like, I'm sick of you, you're fired.
We didn't talk about it, but in one of the other promos that they did where like Beer Money were with Team Canada, there's a great bit, the Storm bit.
Which one?
Where like Storm falls off the chair.
Oh yeah, because he's drinking.
Yeah, he's drinking the beer on top of the chair, and then like he falls off, and that's when Harris says, "No more beer for Storm."
We'll talk because I put that in the Raven and Larry category, so we'll talk about that in a sec. But yeah,
it was just a really funny bit, and also why Storm like clearly is like the better part of both teams, like because he just brings that energy to it.
Because he has actual personality and charisma, which Harris and Rude kind of don't.
Yeah.
Though Rude did a better job of finding over time.
Well, Harris didn't really have a chance.
Which is a shame. But yeah, JB says congratulations, and Gail is like, you're fired. You're pregnant, you're fired.
Which is a lawsuit.
Jackie Gaeta announced on her website that she is pregnant with a baby boy who is due at the end of the year. Charlie Haas said he got the news on the same day he got the offer to return to WWE. So it's been quite up and down as they both found out on the day they got back from their honeymoon that they were both fired from WWE. So it's been a wild run for this poor couple. Given that TNA is run by a woman, and even if it wasn't, I don't see Gaeta's job being in jeopardy once she's ready to return. Dave, she never returns.
Also sexist. Women can be shits too.
Yeah, women can be evil capitalists too, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm not sure was it a choice from Jackie, because I think the only other wrestling she ever does is the WrestleMania 2009 Battle Royal thing that was mostly interrupted by a Kid Rock concert.
Did she do that?
She was in that, I think, yeah. It's hard to know
Really?
because none of them got entrances, but...
Yeah, they were struggling for 25, huh?
Yeah, so like Jackie hasn't been pretty involved in wrestling these days, so maybe she was just like, I'm just going to be a mother and maybe get a real job.
Well, didn't we mention that they opened like a thing? They had like a nutrition thing or whatever?
Who did?
Charlie Haas and...
Oh, that time we did the full in-depth Jackie Gaeta career retrospective?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. I appreciate you remembering the details.
They had some sort of business.
Hopefully all's well in the Gaeta Haas household. Are they still together? They might not be.
I think we also found out they were divorced.
Aw. So not all is not well in the Gaeta Haas household.
Well, they might be perfectly amicable.
But it's not a household anymore.
They were divorced in 2020.
Aw. Or fine. I guess divorce isn't inherently sad.
Looks like Jackie Gaeta, well, allegedly, it's Wikipedia, never remarried, but Charlie Haas did.
2
years later, though, that's still 2 years is a hell of a turnaround.
Yeah.
After a 15-year marriage?
And they had 4 kids together, didn't they?
Yeah.
Straight back in. Judging
Charlie
Charlie
Haas's
Haas's life choices.
You're 50, you know? You're like, what am I really waiting around for?
True.
If the next one lasts the same amount of time, I'll be 65 at the end, you know?
And then I'll only need one more before I die.
Yeah. Shout outs Charlie Haas, I guess.
Who we will see in 2022.
Yep.
We also had a feature on AMW versus Styles and Daniels before AMW defeated AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels. Oh, very important note in that pre-match interview where Harris says they have friends in high places. What could that mean?
Jeff Hardy.
It's the opposite of Garth Brooks.
I don't know what that means. Friends in low places.
Yes. So, for the NWA World Tag Team titles, AMW defeat AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels to retain.
Sorry, I'm just searching if Custom Muscle and Health still operates.
Very important.
I want to see if their store... They have a number. Should I ring?
No.
It looks like it's still open.
That's nice.
So, they might still have the place. They might still have the place. Doesn't... apparently, Umaga also used to own this store?
Long history of wrestler ownership.
Like, as in, like, they all opened it together. Which is cute.
It's nice. I feel like it's been a while since we've had AMW actually getting to, like, spread their wings a little bit in a tag team match.
I thought we were still talking about Charlie Haas.
Your brain is still always on Charlie Haas.
Yeah.
When you think about what AMW have done this year, it's been a lot of, like, Planet Jarrett stuff. So they like, Lethal Lockdown. They did, the 8-man tag at Destination X.
A lot of team stuff. Or stable stuff, rather.
So, like, they had a 3D feud, and the 3D matches weren't great. The Saban and Sanjay match was fun, but nothing special. This does feel like the first time, really, even in 2006, that they've been given a chance to just go out there and have a killer tag match with 2 good guys.
It is their weakest year, but they're still far and away the best tag team in the company.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when we get to Styles and Daniels in LAX. Will they win it for 5 in a row? I'm not sure they will, but we'll see how they go.
For it to be renamed after them, they have to have 5.
No, we renamed it on 4.
Fuck. I change it. I'm changing it back.
No, we made the decision. It is the America's Most Wanted Tag Team of the Year.
No, I'm taking it back.
Too late.
I'm in charge.
We put it on the spreadsheet.
I'll change this goddamn spreadsheet.
I'm going to remove your access.
That's effed up.
I'm not sure if you even have access to that spreadsheet.
I think I do. I put my things in there.
Yeah. It is nice that we did just get a damn good AMW tag team title match on pay-per-view for the first time in a while.
Yeah, it has been sorely missed.
So Gale and Jackie are banned from ringside. Styles and Daniels run wild. Heat on Daniels, hot tag to Styles. The match breaks down. Styles hits a springboard from the ring into the crowd on Harris. In typical AJ fashion, it looks wild. Storm hits AJ with the Eye of the Storm off of Harris's shoulders for 2. Daniels hits the BME and AJ falls with a frog splash, but Storm kicks out. Storm hits AJ with a super kick, but Daniels makes the save. Daniels hits the Angel's Wings on Storm, but Harris makes the save. Harris dumps Daniels over the top, but they take the ref with them, which was kind of an awesome ref bump. It's the one where he just like threw him over, but like somehow Rudy got like clutched in between them, and all 3 of them just went tumbling over.
Sounds terrifying, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a lot of men falling at once. So the second the referee is taken out, you see a club just drop into the ring from the rafters, a billy club.
Impressive throw.
Yeah, because when you look at Gale, I don't even think she's like directly above the ring.
No, she's not. She's not above it. She's like out over the crowd.
Yeah, so it's not even like just a drop it straight down.
No, she had to throw.
So she had to hit that ring. And I assume Gale threw it. Maybe they worked the throw. Maybe someone else threw it, but...
Or maybe it like dropped from the top, but like they acted like she threw it.
Yeah, because you didn't actually see Gale throw it. You just saw it fall in the ring. But I'm going to give Gale credit. Gale threw it. It was great. So because they had friends in high places, Liam. Remember? Payoff. Storytelling. Cinema.
Every time they do this match, I think AJ and Daniels win.
Yeah.
And then I'm just thinking, oh, they just keep losing.
AMW retain once again, because Daniels goes for a split like moonsault on the floor, but Harris sidesteps him and carries his momentum into the rail, which looked really good. And then Styles hits Storm with the Styles Clash, but then Harris clocks him with the club and reverses the pin for 3 as AMW retain, once again, the World Tag Team title. Real good match.
Goes into the AMW compilation DVD tape.
Yeah, it's nice to have AMW back. We haven't had this AMW in a while, as we said. And it's not like they've had bad matches, but it's just they just haven't been in this kind of match for a while, just defending the tag title straight up. And this rocked. The next up is James Gang and Team 3D.
James Gang family drama?
No family drama this month, just regular drama.
James, I mean, it's 2 segments basically. Can I summarize it real easy here?
Sure.
So we start it's a follow up of the AMW Daniel Styles match. You have Team 3 coming out. Bully's like, we're fighting, we're warriors. Then they're all pissy because a thrown together team Styles and Daniels got a tag title match before they did. They're great wrestlers, but not a great team. And they say we're the greatest, we're the most decorated of all time, blah blah blah. And then the James Gang come out, and BG James is he apologizes, and he's like, hey, you guys called yourself the most distinguished tag team in wrestling history, but you've never beaten them. And then Bully's like, yeah, except for our first WWF tag team titles. And then BG James is like, oh, we sold out Madison Square Garden 47 times in a row. And you guys, you couldn't even draw 350 to a bingo hole. And everyone's like, oh. Then Bully says they could never get over in the bingo hole. And then they do bingo comedy and they high five because they're friends despite all this, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is meant to be banter because he's like B58 for C42, and then ha 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 ha, high five, and it's like, fuck you all.
Yeah, it's stupid and it's it's so cringe. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's between 2 teams I don't particularly give a shit about. Whatever. And then they have the match.
Yeah, they challenge him to a match at Sacrifice. They do a face-off that BG then kisses Devon. He kisses him, gives him a little kiss.
Good bit. Oh, then yeah, they get to the show and they do a whole politics,
which Dave referred to as very funny. He referred to this Team 3D interview with JB as very funny.
I mean, it was funnier than the James Gang promo.
So Bully is like, you never forget where you were when you find out about 9/11 or when Bush got elected for a second time. Am I right, guys? When OJ was not guilty, and then Devon was like, wait a minute, dude. He wasn't guilty. To which Bully responded, he whacked that white girl and you know it.
Aha.
And also, the other thing that you never forget where you were is when they beat the New Age Outlaws for the WWF tag team titles, and they're the best tag team.
Cool.
Then they have a match.
And the match is bad.
BG does a hip toss into a dropkick, and then Bully is like, you know how to do a dropkick? Bully then himself does a dropkick, and he is very proud of himself.
And sweat pours off his face like a tsunami.
He looks like he as gassed as a wrestler has ever been by doing a single dropkick.
It's very funny.
BG hits Devon with a pipe, which is how 3D apparently beat them in the WWF for the win. James Gang beat Team 3D.
WWF lore in my TNA.
Like, listen, it's the James Gang at 3D. If you're going to do it, which you shouldn't, but if you are, you might as well reference the history. What else are you doing it for if you don't? But also, don't do it.
Once again, I say that I would simply book BG James to do violent brawls.
With Bully. Him and Bubba would have a good brawl.
They would have a good, brawl tag match.
They have a significantly worse segment next month that you can look forward to.
Cool.
In which one of the performers may perhaps do blackface.
To be fair, 3 out of 4 of it, I believe.
And not the on the edge, maybe blackface, maybe not blackface we had at Lockdown. This is thorough and notable.
You can post the GIF of that one to your account.
No, you can have that one. No, you can.
No, you got that one.
You can have those numbers.
Hey, you're the TNA guy. I'd hate to step on your toes.
We close things out with Larry Zbyszko and Raven.
Which is just Larry Zbyszko repeatedly getting scared.
He flees in terror from Raven multiple times.
To be fair, Raven looks like a fucking freak, so...
April 27th Impact. During a backstage interview, Larry asks JB if he's seen Raven in the building, and JB says no, he has not seen Raven.
Cool.
Before the X Division title match on that show, which was Samoa Joe against Jay Lethal that we talked about earlier, Larry was meant to present the belt to the winner, but then Raven appeared and chased him out.
Fun.
May 4th Impact. Larry joins Mike and Don before to announce AMW versus Styles and Daniels.
I like that he's like, I'm just getting sick.
Yeah, he's very hoarse for some reason. He's like, the probation is affecting my voice.
I chose to think that's his excuse, but it's actually Raven. He's just in constant fear and anguish and it's tearing him apart.
So this is where Larry announces Styles and Daniels versus AMW, the tag titles at Sacrifice, but then Raven appears and jumps him and chases him.
Yeah.
And then go home show. JB is backstage with Team Canada and AMW. Jackie is crying again, so everybody shouts at her and gets entered to get a coffee. This is where Storm falls over drunk.
He just trips on the chair, and then he tries to pour out the empty beer into his mouth.
Larry walks in and asks for help with Raven. D'Amore says he has no interest. But actually, you know what? My boy A1, he's got nothing to do lately. You think you could give him something to do? How about he take out that Raven guy? And Larry agrees.
And Larry's like, please, fucking anyone.
Yeah, anybody that keeps Raven away from me is good and fine and dandy.
That keeps him away from me for 4 seconds.
Which does take us to Sacrifice. Before that match, JB has Larry in A1. Larry has a good life making decisions and playing golf. Everything was going good for him. And then Raven showed up and ruined everything. A1 is like, Barry, I've got Raven covered. It's like, it's Larry. Slick Johnson then comes in and reveals that the new face of TNA management will be revealed at Slammiversary. If you remember, Christy Hemme handed that note to Mike Tenay and Don West, revealing that last month and also putting Larry on probation.
Mm-hmm.
Slick inquires who hired Larry, and he's like, I was appointed. And then Slick is like, who do you talk to when you talk to TNA management? And Larry's like, the legal department. Because the implication is almost that Larry just showed up one day and started making decisions and no one said anything.
Then, everyone just let it happen.
Yeah, it's just fine, Russo's gone. I guess we need somebody.
That's how I get jobs. I wait for someone to get fired, and I just show up in uniform.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're the new guy. It's like, yep, okay.
I watched a video of something similar like that once, where a guy just walked up to a Subway dressed in a Subway uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, yeah, I'm the new guy. And they're like, oh, okay.
I feel like most of the time somebody does that, they intend to do crimes.
I guess technically it's a crime.
It is trespassing, at least, I'd imagine. Slick announces that he knows who the new face of TNA management is. He's like, oh, it's Roddy Piper. And Larry's like, Piper? And he's like, nah. And then he's like, it's Russo. And Larry's like, Russo? That guy's a waste of time. I hate him. And he's like, nah, it's not Russo. And then he also teases Warrior. Warrior would be funny. Warrior coming out and trying to make decisions and be coherent. It would be good television, at least.
Or it'd be awful and suck.
And then Slick is like, I'm kidding, we'll find out next month. And Slick says, nice comb over, and Larry gets mad.
Slick, repeatedly calling him bald is so funny to me.
He is a bald man. He is allowed.
It's bold on bold crime.
Because, yeah, there's a bunch of it last month as well, where it's just everyone's pointing at Larry Zbyszko's hair, and he's like, stop it.
He said, what did he say? That you got it, work done on your hair?
So leave poor Larry and his hair alone. But, yes, then we get Raven versus A1. Tell me all about this one, Liam.
They had a match, and Raven won.
Mm.
Raven did a code breaker. And
he did.
And you were, shocked and appalled.
Well, it was a backstabber, but he's never done that. You said he did, and he's never done a backstabber.
He does.
I don't remember him doing a backstabber.
does.
He's trying new moves. I'm giving him credit.
But yeah.
Yeah, so the match starts. Larry accompanies A1 to the ring. He distracts Raven, allowing A1 to throw a chair at him, and then Larry starts getting some shitty little thumps in and runs away and joins commentary. Larry then grills Tenay about who the new face could be, because obviously Mike Tenay is the sole source of information in this company.
Well, that's historical.
Raven hits his backstabber. I still think it's the first time he's hit it, but sure.
His patented classic backstabber that he always uses.
Larry tries to interfere, but A1 accidentally bumps him off the apron. Raven wins with the Raven effect. Larry gets on the mic after the match and he challenges Raven to settle it right there, right now. As Raven gets in the ring, Larry starts dropping some knees and security separates them. And then in my favorite visual of the month, Larry chucks aside 2 security guards and lunges onto Raven in a classic like pull apart, but Larry Zbysko's like a 105-year-old man.
But also it makes no sense. Like, this whole time he's been running for the guy, now he's like, yeah, I'll throw fucking hands, let's go.
Yeah, he's sick of it. Well, he was being held back by security at the time when he lunged at him. But yeah, he is just like, all right, listen, he's terrorized him, Liam. For the last month, every time Larry has shown up, Raven has run him off.
He suddenly decided, now I'm gonna fight back?
Yeah, you have to confront your fears at some point in life, Liam. You have to face them head on.
Never.
So instead of them tormenting you, you can torment them. You regain control, you regain power, you regain ownership over your fears.
No.
He's not at all going to get his ass beat by Raven. So yeah, that is the month that was Make Sacrifice. You enjoyed this month?
Yeah. Very easy watch this month. Not like a killer pay-per-view at the end, which is like what separates the really good months of TNA, which is like adequate TV but good ending. This was more like adequate TV, adequate pay-per-view.
Yeah, I like, for as much as there is talk that they don't have an identity, I actually think they've settled into a nice little groove with the right sports entertainment-y elements. Where the Deal or No Deal segments were a little hit and miss, but like there was a good idea there if they had worked. The Nash stuff is really funny. Then you get like World X Cup stuff. Styles and Daniels AMW is a really good tag team program. All the Jarrett Steiner against Sting and Joe match was really good. In theory, the Abyss Christian stuff was good, even if the match was a small bit on the disappointing side. It is like I think there's a good mix going on at the moment.
Yeah.
We will be back in the next few weeks with a new episode of Rain Takers in your Patreon feed, a new episode of A Gift of the Pods in your Patreon feed, and as we decided earlier, Nacho Libre being our next.
Yeah, we get to see racist Jack Black.
Mystery Vortex Theater. So that's all coming your way before eventually we will deliver the Slammiversary 2006 episode, if you've got to be kidding me, coming after all of that. You can subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/kiddingme or tnachat.com, where you can support the show, give us a few bucks, and get a lot in return. We have, I think, over 140 pieces of exclusive audio to dig into on Patreon at this point. So it's pretty good value for money if you've not yet jumped in yet. There's a lot of stuff you can go through, a lot of full series you can listen to for just $5, $10, or $1, depending on your preference and what you would like. Follow us on Twitter at TNA History Pod. Follow me on Twitter at Garrett Kidney. Follow Liam on Twitter at The Gleek Window. Subscribe to us on YouTube at You've Got to Be Kidding Me, or on TikTok at TNA History. Thanks for listening, and bye bye.
Do damn things, etc.
Hello, do you like New Japan Pro Wrestling? Are you a Shin Nihon freak? If so, check out the Super J-Cast with Joel and Damon on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
And even if you fucking hate New Japan Pro Wrestling, listen to the Super J-Cast anyway. Not just for our great show reviews, analysis, and pastrami sandwiches, but there's also usually some dick jokes somewhere in the obligatory opening 30 minutes of absolute nonsense we chat about every single week. That's the Super J-Cast for all the best talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, crisps, and pornography.